All right. Simple trick. Take any word like with logos at the end of it, like astrology, and then add Sophia. Use wisdom instead. So Astrosophia, Astrosophy. I think that's almost sound like catastrophe, which also makes me wonder about the world. I'm Andreas. Julia, how you doing? What's up? We're wearing an epic cape right now.
The best cloak ever.
Cloak cape.
The banana cloak. It is it's got a lot going on. I love that cloak. Brittany, what's up? I love
Not
the kimono.
much. Hello.
What's up?
Greetings.
I've got my totemy jacket, and Bernie will be with us shortly. He's actually racing home right now. This is his home.
Hopefully he's not racing.
Well, yeah, hopefully he's not racing. I don't know if you can race a train. You can, but you shouldn't. So, Radium girls. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this? You know about Ben Analog? He's got this great channel. Here's his Instagram. Here's his Twitter. He was talking about radium earlier, and Brittany was like, "Have you radium? Remember this?
Is this how they get the X-Men? And is it really true? Can they put like that in your bones?
Comic book.
I wanted to look into studies on early studies on radium, or is it really just toxic?
I mean, like all Dr. Radium. I don't know. All these old comic books in the old days were definitely atomic energy stories or chemicals that they consumed. That's always the way it is. The original comic books were somebody had some super mutagent that was a chemical substance that usually came from atomic energy. But what was interesting was you were talking about radium specifically because he brought up like the ball of radium and a couple other. What was the other
comments? I'm talking. My interest is like the findings of radium in volcanoes and whatnot, but also just any studies that show like legitimizing uranium as helping with longevity or.
Right. Well, so these are the two things that really kind of connected. That was Analog posted this part, which was showing radium from a comet. So that's the first part there. And so people associating things with comets, super exciting, but also look into the context of the YMCA and who's finding out this. So it could very well be any number of other stories. It could have been a volcano. We don't know. But here are your stories. It's a comet. Someone saw something in the sky right beforehand, which is.
And we're talking in Portland. So just that location.
Right. Yeah. This is Portland, May 19th. I believe Halley's Comet is a ball of radium, declared Dr. Davidson Buchanan last night in his lecture before the magazine class at the YMCA. I think he continued that the proof of this theory will be established by the result of observations of scientific men now studying the comet. Like radium, the comet furnishes its own luminosity and can use for years without decreasing in weight. Now people don't think that. They think it has to do with sonoluminescence or just friction, which is also kind of ironic because there's not supposed to be a lot of friction in space, but there's supposed to be that. Also, it's just super hot, etc. And as it's breaking apart. Anyway, then you've got this. Or this is the one I think you were like, wait, really?
And the
radium as an elixir.
I want to see if there's any data, like any recent studies.
Old horse made young again by being given dose of radium. Paris, March 17th, Professor Gabriel Petit of the veterinary school at Alfort near Paris had discovered that radium is the real elixir of life, he believes. He recently injected 2 doses of radium of 2 milligrams each into the jugular vein of an old, worn-out horse, and now the animal is young again, by all appearances. It is put on fat. Its coat is glossy. It is frisky and supple. An examination of the blood showed a marvelous quantity of new red corpuscles.
Don't let that fool you, though, anybody.
Well, no, I mean...
Quite the evidence to the contrary as well.
I mean, so...
But there's, I need to do...
Radioimmunotherapy, radiochemotherapy exists, and there are circumstances where they've proven that radium will kill bad cells, right? Because it kills all cells. So the idea that it's killing bad cells along with it.
Yeah. And so obviously then like the Rife technology and frequency for cancer, it seems like a better option than this for cancer treatment. I'm just saying in general, like X-Men, superhumans, super soldiers, the elements that they're using to make these beings, ants, almost like a transhumanist, alchemical type mix of things. What are they using, and is there any data we can find on that?
Well, it's interesting when you look at the history of it, right? So originally, the word energy drink, for instance, comes from radithol, right, or excuse me, radithor. Radithor, you'd make bottles of water that had been radiated with radium, and they called it energy water. And there was energy drinks that were cocktails of radium. So the term energy drink originally was lifted from Radithor. Radithor was created by Bailey.
That's the same. Look at that. Zoom on that. Go back. That's the same text as all the old books, same size. That's interesting. It
The
looks
the font.
reset-y. Yeah, the font looks just like the reset books that we're looking at, but
Yeah, I mean,
interesting.
it was radium and mesothorium in triple
Centered.
distilled water. So talking about like the the cures that radium could cure. I mean, there were a lot of things where again, if it kills cancerous cells
Jeez.
along
Where were
with
those
killing
printed?
decent cells. Well, in the 18th
I'm more
century to the
interested in where
1920s, this
all
was
these
common.
things are printed. It was one book press and one, like they use one font, they use centering, they use the same. I want to get those old titles of books because I think they italicized the same things, they bolded the same things. It was all the same way in the 1800s. But no, the one that, sorry, this is total sidetrack, but Autodidactic just had that book on the Americas in the 1600s, and the book was allegedly from then, and it had the same type of fonting.
Right. Yeah. I
Anyhow.
imagine you've got the same lettering would make sense because they're
Not for 200
printing
years.
presses.
If it was 1600 and 1800, the books are all the same.
I mean,
No?
if you're using the same printing presses and people are taught to duplicate printing presses elsewhere
For that
maybe.
many years. Just seems like a good reset feature. But
Could be. Radium gives Superman powers. Here's the Arium tablets that Bailey created, which he sold. You know, radium was super poisonous.
did they mix
but
that with other
at
things?
the
Or
time
was
it was
it
thought to be healthy. Yeah, they
just
put this in
radium?
water. They drink a water.
So it was
and
just
it's
radium
healthy.
and water. Everything was the same like ingredient. He just marketed it for different things, or did he use like different elements together?
I mean, there were all kinds of different elements that were being discovered, and they were being used for all different things. And I mean, and they were trying to say they were healthy benefits to them. Radiation clearly had some benefits short term. Long term, drinking lots and lots of radioactive materials, it becomes less long term very quickly, right? Because it starts to eat away at all sorts of the parts of the body. And so it's kind of the same problem as if you drink oregano extract every day for a month. You know, it kills your gut fauna and people get cancer from drinking oregano extract, you know, because it kills all the natural gut fauna that's supposed to protect you. So that's not good. But they use it for everything, to cure rheumatism in all its forms, to cure arthritis. And it helped originally. A lot of people
So it
said
stopped people's pain and stuff, or was it just
that was the
placebo?
reported reason why they were able to sell it and why it worked, why it was accepted was because it was working.
Okay, what year is this?
for
Before or
that.
after fluoride? Then what year is this? Because I thought fluoride.
This is before fluoride. This is like 1890s to 1927.
Okay.
You know, and people were using, you know, thorium, radium in their when they built fireplaces to radiate out. They're like radium to radiate, you know. So this was popular as well. People had radium in all sorts of these circumstances so that you could pour water through them, and then it would radiate the water, and you could drink water. So anyone could have radium water on the go, energy drinks on the go. They even put radium in the water for, you know, the ventilation system.
Bernie's here. Sorry.
So
He just
Bernie,
waved. Yay, we're talking about radium.
Radium is fascinating stuff. I really need to look more into it. And there's actually a town kind of close to me, a couple hours drive, but called Radium, British Columbia, that is famous for radium.
So it was like a health spa, a health spring place. Radium, British Columbia. Yeah, there you go. It's a health springs that people will go to, and they said that the water would heal you. And lots of people who had tuberculosis or influenza, they would go to these radium hot springs. There's also hot springs below the radium hot springs of British Columbia in Idaho, which is
the hoe. Sorry.
All right. Well, but so the point being that there is radium hot springs, but a lot of places say they have radium hot springs when they don't really, because they are just Highway 93. Shout out to the Thelemites. But in the old days, it was just such a cool thing, a fatty thing to be part of the radium hot spring. You know, so there's a radium hotel in Arizona, I think, which doesn't really have radium hot springs, but they have a great hotel that's still famous called the Hotel Radium Hot Springs or something like that. Named after radioactive element, shown trace amounts, dosage,
there are trace amounts,
level, encouraged air free.
Can you activate radium then, like through different means? Can you use frequency, or can you make it more radioactive, or whatever?
That's a very good question.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, the thing that Bailey did, John Alois Bailey, who was a Harvard dropout patent of medicines and created Arium, which we were looking at earlier. And some of the other things.
And the
such
main
as
one.
Radithor is the one that eventually got the stuff banned because somebody, what was his name?
Yeah, Bernie, can you, when you're, show us to Bernie
Let
again.
me
look
just
at
really
this.
quickly
I
say,
want him
because
to look
I
at the
got
font.
on a tangent there, but to answer your question, what Bailey did was he mixed 226 and 228 together, radium 226, radium 228 together, so that they would catalyze and produce some sort of a higher energy, or also hit both spectrums or bands of energy, which is what he thought was going on. There might have been better chemicals to do that because this was freaking, 1932. But at first it was successful up until Evan Bayers took it. He was like, wow, my arm feels better. I'm going to drink 3 bottles of this every day. Come to find out at his death at 47 kilos or 110 pounds or whatever it was, and his jaw was missing and his skull was like falling apart, that he had drank like 3 times the human lethal dosage of radium in his life. So radium water worked fine until his jaw came off.
Radioactive is
Here's
a
a-
part of it.
Wall Street Journal article, August 1st, 1990, described Bayer's incident was titled "Radium Water Worked Fine Until His Jaw Came Off." Right. So that is the
buried in a
beginning of
lead
the
coffin.
anti-radium scare. But then the radium scare got worse because of the radium girls, right? Because the radium girls were, they started with,
Campbell, is this the Campbell soup?
they
Sorry,
had
I just have to
makeups,
ask.
and imagine you had this neon glow in the dark makeup you could wear that made you glow, and you would like put it on to impress your boyfriend or something like
Complexion
that.
wafers.
So
And
radiant.
yeah, and so you'd be like a glow in the dark Twi'lek girl from space in 1890. I mean, that'd be the
The
thing to
original
do.
glow in the dark, but
Yeah,
radioactive.
but yeah, it would.
Is it this, what do they use now for glow in the dark? I don't know. Is it similar?
I forget the name of that chemical is. Hold on. UV glow chemical. It's a fluorescent powder. What's it called?
I don't know.
I forget. There's a name of it. I'll find out. Chemicals
Right.
that glow in the dark besides cat urine. Let's see. Phosphor, zinc sulfide, strontium, illuminate, fluorescence. Is fluorescence literally just the chemical? And then chemiluminescence, I don't know. Whatever. There's things you can do. But the thing is, this was being used as medicines, and into the 60s people continued to use this as medicines, and we still use this today because we have radioimmunotherapy, which radioimmunotherapy using antibody labeled with radionuclide delivered cytotoxic radiation to target a cell. So you don't radiate the dude, you radiate the liquid and you put it into the targeted zones of the patient, right? How different is that really from what you just read about the 1890s to 1920s horse being injected in certain parts of their body with radionuclide radium? So it's something that's still done to this day, is the point.
And there's an article too that he had posted that some doctors saying people could live forever if they had the right amount of doses of radium because their cells wouldn't die. So I want to know about that. I know it kills bad cells, but what does it do? I need to study this because I think, or it's just BS.
I would say
and
anytime you want to study anything, you go to ArcSiv Explorer, the AI search engine that helps you look through all the most important papers and organize them. And you can start to type specific terms if you want to find out about longevity.
It has to be older studies, though.
I mean, you can probably
early
sort by
1900s.
date and turn it inside out and look by the oldest ones if you want. So that's not a problem. But you could probably find something that talked about prototeum and telomere extension, etc., and different key genes that are sequenced and how to target them. But the thing is, now what we're doing is we're using CRISPR, and CRISPR works better for a lot of things than radio. But you can still use radio and CRISPR at the same time. But Cas12 or Cas11, you can do some really practical changes to the cell from the inside out from the gene by watching the gene expression through the promoter sequence. So as the promoter sequence starts to happen, you can subtly change the fold. You can discuss with the gene which folds you want to emerge because of the software. And you can literally just erase or stop a gene from replicating that's been going on for millions of years or however long we're, again, school, but that's what they're telling you it is, right? You can take a gene out, you can make it stop emerging. And they've done this.
How are they doing this? With what type of frequency?
So there's a thing that emerges in DNA to stop mutations called Cas. There's Cas9, Cas11, Cas12, Cas17. There's all different kinds of Cas. And we can use it in gene modification in order to cultivate certain kinds of gene expressions and stop other gene, bake the seed so that it doesn't sprout.
Okay, is that when the like in a fetal stage, or like after something's wrong with the person, you can
All the
inject
way
them?
along you can do
Your whole
stuff like
lifespan?
this, but the thing is, this is more aimed towards teratogenic, that is to say, like the offspring. So it makes more sense to do this to something that's never lived before, so to create a thing that doesn't have those gene expressions. But you can use this in adenovirals that would target your genes, and that, who knows.
If I want to have blue eyes, I could inject myself and change my eyes to blue.
Okay, I mean, there's no reason why that technology can't exist.
Okay, that's all I'm asking.
Right. Although there are easier things, Mexican laser blue.
I don't want that. I've heard that story.
Yeah, apparently that's not so bad. I forget.
No, it's terrible.
Did somebody go blind with it?
Yeah,
really? Okay.
They went to get the surgery to get their eye color changed.
Well, people go blind from regular LASIK as well. Like
How
it's
often?
it's not safe 100% of the time either. It's pretty safe, but people aren't really aware that there are risks, and the amount of people doing it, that means more and more people, there's more and more opportunity for risk to happen. But the removal of the pigmented skin theoretically isn't something that's that different. So I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, like, the idea of doing LASIK and then saying, but I wouldn't want to do the color, is kind of, to me, like they're the same thing. But it is what it is. And I think people's color probably shifts a little bit even when you do this. I've heard that people's eyes that have been bluer go grayer or things
After
like that.
LASIK surgery?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, it depends. That might be just speculation by people. There's a lot of other reasons things like that happen.
Their vision might have changed and they can't tell what color their eyes are.
No. I mean, people just
kidding.
have reasons why their eyes change color over years. I mean, certain neural hormones will make your eyes grayer, for instance. Certain toxic diets will make your eyes darker, supposedly.
So gray eyes are bad?
No, I mean, maybe gray eyes are better. Who knows? Good and bad is just
well, certain toxins, I don't know.
That's
Maybe
not the
there's
word to
some science
describe
to
eye
it.
color, I think.
Someone asked about the difference between radium and plutonium. If anybody just knows off top.
Well, they're totally
they're different elements.
different things.
Different
They're
elements,
different
both
volcanoes.
radioactive. We
Plutonium
gotta
is
get
different, though. It's like
Jeremiah
gold
for-
and aluminum or something, though. They're pretty different things. So,
And it just responds to radio waves.
So
is that what the
they're
definition
like
of radiation
6
is?
away from each other, right? Radium's 88, and so plutonium is 94.
I don't know. What's the basic definition of radiation from like?
Radium is 88.
Does
and
anyone do you know that the basic definition of radiation?
What's the what about radiation?
Like if it's radioactive, like
what about it?
what is that definition in the
element,
basic it responds to?
unstable element decaying and the radiation coming off of it, I believe.
Right. It doesn't have a
Basically.
predictable decay, and it is it's a chemical imbalance that leads to rapid decay.
So anything that has, but just to me, the word radioactive seems like it could be activated by a radio wave.
It also puts off radio waves
on its own.
Right.
But what can you do with a radio frequency?
So the thing that's interesting about it is that people will say that over unity doesn't exist, but then they'll talk about radio decay. And it's kind of interesting because you've got this idea of potential energy versus stored energy or kinetic energy. But stored energy is really what this is. And so the question is, how do you have stored energy? And that's still a question I think a lot of physicists are arguing about.
And the problem with solar?
What?
Allegedly storing solar energy and transferring it? No.
I mean, solar energy is easier to explain.
To store it for storing?
Well, because it's just the idea of compression and expansion and forced compression again means that you've got this sort of forced fusion reactor. And so that's how they're nobody's arguing about that because they believe they have enough answers about space or vacuums to explain it. So they're just saying, okay.
But then why aren't they storing more? Like
Same thing
solar?
with physics, though. With nuclear physics, they're saying, oh, well, they do it because they have to. It's because their density forces them to. I mean,
I'm just saying, in general, why can't we go to a sunny place, store and transfer the solar energy to like Minnesota, where we don't have the sun for a while, or like to other places?
Loss, I think the loss comes from the transfer through the wires of
Okay.
it.
Right. I'm a big fan of the idea that
Gotcha.
Oumuamua was that. Like you've got a spaceship that gets super white hot because it gets close to the sun and it flings off. And then the design of it, we're not sure exactly what it's made of. But if it's layers of super thin foils that are hyper densely packed so that it could be kind of like a heat sink, then if the ship is shaped like a bunch of this material at a highly dense scale, you would have so much surface area to store the energy that it would be able to last a lot longer. So you'd be able to keep that heat for, let's say years instead of for hours or something like that. And that would make it possible to that is the storage of that energy, right?
Mhm.
And all the more if it's a radioactive material, because then what you probably have is hyper ionized metals that are holding, radioactive charge.
Mhm.
So then they've got even more energy than you expect. And even if they get cold, that energy is still there, that it can be reactivated.
So do you think it's radioactive because it had some type of something done to it a long time ago and it's still showing that energy, or what? Because
Bernie, you better get Jeremy Reese
I'm wondering
back
about
on
that.
here.
And also radioactivated elements, like are there things that you can activate then with radio waves or amplify? Because we're talking about all these frequencies, and this might be a good question for Rife and his the Rife machine.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Ask Reese if he
Matthew,
wants to come talk about ionization too.
as well as Jeremy and Jeremiah.
Jeremiah would like
Jeremiah would be great for answering a lot of these questions, and he might actually be up. So I'm trying to message him and see if we can get him on.
He's gonna be like, Andreas
Sorry.
is just giving like this Bill Nye
have a lot
answer,
of
and I'm gonna agree
questions.
because like the way I understand ionization's kind of maybe hollow, but I think of it like magnetic trains. Well, I mean, so you've just got atoms or molecules acquired or negative positive charge by gaining or losing electrons. What does that mean? Let's look at toy trains. Okay, so in a toy train, magnet trains. Magnet trains. You've got the positive and the negative charge flowing one direction. Let's look at a polar magnet. And what that does is it actually causes, and you've heard of electromagnetism. That has to do with the fact that if you put energy into the field, it'll force those ions to flow, and that causes that magnetic current that you're used to.
Yeah, magnetism is electricity. There's
it's the ions
from
it's the ions. Ions are maybe more specific, but the electricity will increase the amount of ions in the field, or it'll increase the size of the field, or it'll create a direction for the field to flow, which can repolarize a magnet, which could re-virginize a magnet. Right?
No, what?
That's what
re-virginize magnets?
Yeah, using electromagnetism, you can force a new flow, and you can completely clear a magnet
back to its origin.
Yeah, but you need electricity to do it, or you need a lot of heat and also electricity. Essentially.
That's interesting because that goes against a good book for every home. Saying once you have
not really
magnet,
because you can destroy
once
that
magnetized, a magnet can never reach its virgin state, according to Leet Scanlon.
Well, okay, but then maybe he's also not considering the fact that you can hypermagnetize a magnet. You can electrically charge a magnet so that it almost becomes a liquid state again, and then you can polarize it. So he might not know it, but it can be done.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's the thing about
perception.
That's the thing about polarization. Polarization can also be lost, and so you'll find magnets that are less powerful over the years. You're like, man, this is such a weak magnet. Well, it used to probably be a lot of super.
And that's because it's got less of the electromagnetic charge in it.
And they even decharge magnets when they sell them, like a kid's magnet. They don't want it to be.
So you're
powerful,
telling me like those little magnets
them.
that are like the same size like this, that are super powerful, just have a stronger electromagnetic charge to them.
They have a more pure polarity. So magnet polarity again. So what's happened is they've only allowed energy to flow negatively, right? So it's being pulled through the north and it's going up through the south. And it can only create that field. Whereas if you keep pushing the wrong side of a magnet at it, or if you push the wrong charge of electricity the other direction, it won't stay that same perfect flow. It'll weaken the magnet.
So when you do the opposites and they repel,
right?
You don't want to do that because that makes your magnet
unless you have electricity to continue the ionic flow, so you've got something else that's keeping the flow going.
So why do it's like a phenomena of magnets when really it's just electromagnetics as a field in general? There's not such thing as that's magnetic. Without
It is.
the
Everything's everything's
without the
magnetic.
electric association, there's nothing that's magnetic.
Right, but like again with the idea that it's ionization, so ionization. So the idea that something is picking up on the charge doesn't mean that it's electricity. It means that it's going through the electrical flow, or it's going through the radio. Can also be doing this as well. It can also, radio is similar. It's not the same as electricity though, right? So radio is a movement, it's an energy, it's a wave function. It's not really a particle or anything like that. So the idea that energy is happening to it, ionization is happening to it, is something, and it's probably worth questioning. Like Ken Wheeler would probably talk to you about, like, oh, is it really bringing new ions, or is it just
Ken Wheeler's
accumulating
all in my head?
the ions that are there? And I would actually say maybe he's, at least consider what he's saying on that point. There is something to it.
That's Theora Apophis. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I just like to consider everybody's.
I've watched lots of his videos, so yeah.
Negatively charged ions are produced when a free electron collides with an atom and is subsequently trapped inside an electric potential barrier, releasing any excess energy. Okay. Anybody? So basically, the idea that energy is potential, and metal, since it's able to be virginized, it's able to hold a polarized charge. Everything can do that. Stone can do it. And people talk about magnetizing stone.
You can make anything magnetic. Like
the problem is that those materials are often less pure, and so it's a lot easier for them to have different magnetic polarity or no polarity at all, right? And you can polarize them, but it takes electromagnetic field to do it.
Yeah,
or maybe something better. I mean, I think people talk about sonication earlier. Bernie brought up sonic levitation, right?
Yeah, acoustic levitation was the one.
Acoustic, yeah. I was talking about melting metals too, like the ferrous fluids. You can turn anything to like electromagnetic fluids too. Like NASA has that EM fluid.
Right. I mean, if you just follow like the harmonic resonance of anything, you can destroy it. But this is interesting because I was like, how much does this cost? And I'm pretty sure it's still pretty cheap, but of course it's a lot more expensive than it was at that time if you're an American to buy Chinese parts. So it might be more than 70 pounds now, but theoretically you should, with a neutrino trip or a launch pad, battery, SD card, a couple other parts there, and a 3D printed shell or a bowl with, 10 little speakers connected to each other, create this acoustic levitation device. And, all it really does is it puts out a frequency, and that sound will push up whatever is above it. Theoretically, you could put liquid in this, and it should be able to float.
Magic carpet.
I'll actually get my little acoustic levitator out and probably be able to do a live demo.
Ooh, yeah, sweet. So how do you make that a scale large enough to give my daughter a magic carpet that will go up and then just
good question. Before we do that, add to it.
$1 question.
Add to the question while keeping her eardrums safe, because we're talking about using acoustic levitation. So that means you're standing on subwoofers. You're playing super low.
Okay,
sound.
Yeah, you're ultra low and ultra high frequencies. What can you do with those at levels that we haven't?
You could do all kinds of things. First off, you could definitely make it safe. Jeremy was talking about it earlier, the way that you would hit the sound waves against each other in such a way that they would absorb each other. And so theoretically, you might not even hear it because you'd be able to hit the sounds against each other so hard, but maybe not. The other thing
the carpet absorbs it, and that's how you levitate. Like it's like repelling against it. And it's like boom, boom, and it stops it. No? Can you make that the buffer, the actual object that's levitating?
The other thing is a sound cannon. So if you really were like, well, you know what, I can't quite figure out how to make this thing safe, why would you? Because you can literally destroy anything with a sound cannon. You can destroy 7-foot thick concrete walls, steel doors,
like the concrete,
people behind
concrete donkey in that worm game.
Dude, right? Have you guys played Worms Armageddon?
Oh no, sorry, I didn't mean that.
Worms, WMD, whatever. Any of the Worms games? I'm sorry. Worms? Great game. So in Worms, there's this donkey thing. So usually, there's banana bone, but the donkey.
Absolutely love the Worms franchise.
Yeah.
You just drop a donkey, and then it just keeps falling and bouncing and falling over and over again until it falls right through the level, and it kills all the poor worms in this path. It's horrible.
Anyway,
it's a good game.
Anyway, it reminded me what you're talking about.
What is
which
sonic
was-
weapons are pretty intense, and they can actually make your ears bleed, and so that's why they work with active denial systems more, because EMFs and radio seem to be really similar, but they don't affect your eardrums. So it's just beyond the beyond what we can experience.
Can you use sound to virginize a magnet then, or no, or what?
I
Or is
don't
it
know.
all
Probably,
electric?
probably not. Maybe
You could blast it, and all of a sudden it becomes just.
maybe
as
you
strong.
could. Maybe that's the idea of the.
Here, it's hard. It's hard to process all this because we're talking about like a universal unifying field, which is a lot of what.
I bet you could.
What
I bet
Reichenbach
you.
is,
I don't
but
know if
yeah.
anyone's gonna have any creative ideas on how you would do that. But you think about Solomon's temple, the idea that he levitated stones using sound in a completely silent place. So there's probably a connection there.
If you have an extreme ultra high, extreme ultra low, maybe they cancel out, and you get to like boom, elevate, levitate,
I don't know.
binaural beat, opposite sides. I don't know.
I mean,
It's in Lee Scanlon's book. We should be able to understand.
One of the things they
but-
do is they use noise cancellation. So noise cancellation will have a signal running through one channel and another channel, and they'll be upside down. And so what'll happen is there'll be some noise here, but the same signal upside down there, it'll say, okay, flip it, figure out what's different from the noise along the cable, and remove that. And so that's how you get rid of noise along a signal. But that it also tells you that there's a lot going on, other signal that's interfering with the waves. So
and containing that sound seems like a nuclear reaction. If you can contain the flipped wave sounds, no, can you have like a sound container where you can play these? And
are you talking about MP3? What are you saying?
No, like a container, I'm thinking of like a nuclear bomb, like a nuclear facility, nuclear power.
Oh,
sound
right.
power.
What's that
Like if
place?
you have
The
a
quietest
contained
room
sound, but not the
world.
quietest room.
No, but that's the thing.
Like where
Inside
you
the
can
quietest
play
room in
those
the world.
frequencies that.
This place is interesting because what they'll do, the quietest room in the world doesn't exist just to make you hear your gut until you're uncomfortable and you pass out. Actually, they'll do things in the quietest room in the world, like play a noise and know for sure it's just that thing making the noise. Right.
Not something impacting it that's altering the sound.
Absolutely. And so it's an important way for them to check like
everything.
Everything.
Science of frequency, everything.
You
would
saw
be
the thing
done
about the
in a-
mask, right?
Hmm.
Like the mask and the quietest. They tested a mask recently that none of this is the right thing. It's all horrible. Mask, silent. Basically, you could wear. I'm just gonna pretend this is the right picture because imagine how hilarious that would be. But no, they had a mask on, and you could basically never be heard when you wear the mask. So people could be having phone calls and talking while no one can
Oh
hear
yeah,
what they
that
were
thing. I
saying.
did see that.
And they tested it in the world's quietest room. And like, yeah, nobody can hear it at all.
Really?
Yeah.
They tested. I didn't hear that part. They
Right.
actually tested that in the
Yeah,
world's
yeah.
quietest room.
Right. Yeah. no,
How does
Germ-
that work? Is that military
I mean, there's something.
material?
Yeah.
That
so-
would work then. Hold on. If that exists, that must be what they had when they went to the moon. So they didn't go deaf from the rocket that they flew on to get there. They had that material that they just discovered probably in their headphones. Otherwise, wouldn't the astronauts be deaf?
Oh, I don't know where it
You were
is.
talking
The
about that earlier.
soundproofing. I forget. Yeah, they basically they exist. I don't know. So sonic weapons, radium, plutonium. Did we talk about the radium girls? We didn't get to the radium girls.
Protection from.
Okay, so they made
Sonic
makeup,
attack.
and then they were torturing these women with telling them that they would look beautiful to their husbands if they glowed in the dark, which worked. And then people, along the line, they were saying, hey, we also have scientists who are wearing lead-lined suits, which is expensive, but we need glow-in-the-dark watches for the military because all these great radioactive products and everything, let's at least use them for something useful. Like we need the military to be able to see their watches in the dark. So they get these girls, and they have the girls start to paint all the watches with radium, and they're told also to lick the paintbrushes in between doing this to make sure that the paintbrushes stay wet. And this is not so weird because they've already heard about all the kind of uses of radium, but girls do start to get sick, and girls who specifically use it a lot as like makeup brought it home with them, right, to impress their pilot boyfriends.
Glowing eyeshadow? That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
X-radium
Just like-
foot warmers. I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of cool things. Retail for only $1.50.
No, but like glowing eyeshadow. I bet you the women, did they have eye cancer or what was the result of that?
Well, I mean, breast cancer, eye
Oh, yeah, glow up
cancer,
boobies?
throat cancer, I don't know how much you want to see some of the pictures.
I'm
of
just
the
saying, if
Radium
it was
girls.
cosmetically, they
Here's
should
a
have had
bad
lip
one right
cancer.
there,
you go,
ballooning up.
chin cancer.
Yeah, some bad stuff started to happen.
What the hell happened to her?
I mean,
I want to know
nothing
specifically
good
the
happened
chin
to
woman.
nothing good happened to the Radium.
How
girls.
does that happen to your face from radium?
Yeah, that
chin?
was
Maybe because they were licking it
scandal
and so
that
they
broke
swallowed
out.
it and it got right into
Hold
the
on,
throat.
Bernie. What was that? He said it
It
was a
was the
scandal.
major scandal.
Oh, the
That's where
radium scandal?
Radium
Yeah.
Girls comes from. The term
Yeah.
Radium Girls was the lawsuit or class action, I believe, from that.
Only 8 girls were alive to actually pursue the class action lawsuit. Of the 8 girls, I think all of them died within 6 years of the completion of the final trial, which is in the 30s.
Was it all the same type of cancer?
It was very late. All the same kind of cancer? No. The many kinds of cancer.
So
Many.
it's just it wasn't targeting one thing.
No, I mean that's the entire body started to
I
show
wish
problems.
Analog was here because I think then the military did use it and study it and like super soldier stuff and like how it with the bones or something.
I mean, the fact that it's called Arium is
injected
pretty interesting in and of itself, right? Like that's something. And that Bailey was a Harvard dropout, also makes me think there must have been more to it. The cost of radium pills was something equivalent to $1,000 a year or $330 for a month's supply or something crazy, depending on how you look at it. It was freaking expensive. So the kinds of people that were eating radium were the elite. And yeah, up until people in general started having access to wealth, what is this, 1927? That is right before the crash. And normal people have figured out ways of having access to wealth so they can start to find things. Maybe this is the point when they're like, okay, we need a really public demonstrative PR campaign against this medicine to make sure most people are afraid of it. Whether or not it's made illegal doesn't matter. We just need to make sure that most people are afraid of it so that they don't.
But this Bailey page is one of the most it's just, what's his early life? I mean, is there any more information about this person that caused this craze?
School. He studied Latin as a child and he went to Harvard.
And that's it. So usually when we have these people that are smeared, there's a lot of information about them that shows what they did. And you're like, oh my gosh.
Did you guys ever see the video of Galen Windsor, that nuclear physicist? And you can watch him lick a pile of the radioactive uranium off the palm of his hand. And
how do I spell this Galen Windsor guy?
GALENWINSOR.
Dude, I know you just said it.
GALENWINSOR.
Okay.
No D.
You could watch him lick a pile of the uranium off of his hand. And,
does he have cancer of the tongue now?
He also drank reactor cooling pool water for fun and liked to go and swimming in the pool to relax. And he surmised that the regulations and fear mongering that surround the radioactive materials are in place to prevent the widespread adoption of the nuclear power in local small scale neighborhoods and communities.
Right, but also that it could be a medical thing.
I get that. Yeah, the medical thing is I get the oil industry being like, no.
But what if cancer is not caused by radiation, but the other way around? That would be funny, wouldn't it? I mean, exactly the kind of thing they do. I mean, we wake up with the oil scam, but yeah, the idea that people are getting more and more sick because they don't have access to medicines, that looks like people are still going to radium hot springs, right?
I myself have probably swam in radium hot springs, radium hot spring, that right there. A good 30-40 times in my life, if not
Bernie,
more.
you're gonna die.
I'm gonna go swim with Bernie in the radium hot springs. That's the way to do it, dude. I swam in the radium hot springs in Arizona and I found out there wasn't radium and I was really upset. Luckily I just went over to the arsenic hot springs and I just sat there for an hour. But the point is that you can get in hot springs filled with chemicals that you were told are not to drink, and you shouldn't drink them.
Right.
But you can get right out of those hot springs alive a lot of times.
Chances are a lot of exposure to straight radium will kill you and give you radiation poisoning. Dustin Bushwhacking History in Buffalo in the comments is saying there's no evidence that it will. And Yeah, I do lean that way a little bit in the sense of like maybe mercury and like how there's still like the yogis in India that like eat mercury and they put gold and silver into it and ingest a whole bunch of mercury and are fine. But that's completely different than radium, which is physically giving off nuclear radiation and decay.
Well, it's like, and all those bodies that are found that are, they ingested cinnabar, but it's like, it depends on, like, they just didn't know the correct formula. Like, it's probably, these things are probably great. It's just how you mix them and how you produce it.
Is it like where it's
Yeah, and how
directed
much
to?
you have of it. I'll
Right.
also imagine, it seems like this guy had 3 times the lethal dose, but
And then if you play
At
a
first, he
frequency
was-
in a resonance chamber while you've injected yourself with radiation, what can that do?
I mean,
Nothing.
it doesn't
I mean,
sound safe. I
all
wouldn't
sorts
recommend
of
it.
things, actually.
It
That's
depends on the
really big.
frequency. It seems like
Big
if you're looking at the science, if you have all these different types of frequencies, you can. Yeah, there should be a
Brittany,
science.
that's bananas.
Sorry.
Are bananas radioactive? Did you hear about this? Did you know
Dustin, I
bananas
didn't
radioactive?
quote it exactly and
Bananas.
don't
What'd you
want to
say?
misrepresent you of what you're saying. It was or he was saying that radium. Post your statement again. Sorry, Dustin. I will put it up on screen. Don't want to misquote people. But yeah,
Poor
don't
Dustin.
eat poisonous stuff.
Yeah, you gotta be careful. I mean, the idea that something's safe because they told you it wasn't, you gotta be careful with that too. I don't know, just don't trust anybody, ever. You and me. Is it true that bananas are radioactive? This is absolutely true, but the same can be said for spinach, potatoes, oranges, nuts, kitty litter. Really? Don't eat
See,
kitty
this
litter.
is probably more what Dustin was referring to.
Everything in the world is composed of elements. Remember the periodic table? Shout out to Brittany's banana that she bought on wish.com.
And this shirt.
That looks like an actual banana.
Wearing a
Brittany's
hard
going
Can I see that?
bananas.
Epic.
Oh,
Yeah. Wow.
All right.
Wow.
That's fine.
Wow.
No, that's
And
cool. 'Cause
Brittany's
like
making banana bread.
it's cool for
I love
your,
banana
it's
bread.
cool for your hands. Like it does like the like
It's a stress reliever. Yeah.
carpal
It's one of those
tunnel.
like stress balls.
George
but-
Jetson. Shout out to George Jetson. He needed that. Okay. So the periodic
Anyway.
table, bananas, potassium,
Does
0.
it say how many neutrinos are in it?
Does it say neutrinos? Really?
Banana and
There are
neutrino.
neutrinos in bananas. I was just wondering how much.
Let me
And
see.
what do they do?
How do you measure something
What
that
does
just
a
bounces
neutrino
around
do?
like that? Oh,
It makes us
sorry.
all like.
Neutrino.
Maybe that's
Why do bananas emit neutrinos? All
Neutrinos.
things neutrino. Start with that. Where do neutrinos come from? Can you imagine like a neutrino looking this
Big
up, like trying
Bang.
to understand themselves? Why do bananas emit neutrinos?
Dude.
Everything emits neutrinos, even bananas.
Even Christy on the video.
Chrissy's
She's totally emitting some
she looks like she's
neutrinos.
admitting just tons of
Neutrinos.
neutrinos. All right. So
Shout out to Christy.
potassium 40, 21 neutrons, potassium 30. Okay, so I guess is it because
Wow.
it's unstable? Is it because at or something? I don't know.
Because
got
it's
energy in it.
radioactive. So then, like, everything
When you eat it, you
radioactive.
break it down. You're breaking down the energy that's in
If
the
it's
food.
radioactive, it's unstable. So is that what the definition of like what neutrinos are? I don't know. I don't know enough about.
No, a neutrino is a
neutrino.
weird thing. A neutrino is like a kind of particle that zips around through reality. It's a fermion.
And it comes from what? How does
Well,
it happen?
I mean, the 50s, they were all excited about it. Let's see. In the fermion, an elementary
gravity's
particle with a
involved.
spin of a half
Hmm.
interval that interacts only via the weak interaction in gravity. The neutrino is so named because it is electrically neutral and because its rest mass is so small. It is long thought to be 0. The rest mass of the neutrino is much smaller than any of the other elementary particles, excluding massless particles. So neutrinos will just like zip in and zip out, and you'll be like, "Where was that thing?" It's like a knife, it's like a needle going through fabric on the other side of reality and back, or something. Although I think they've got new excuses for what it's really doing.
And you can eat them and contain them in your body.
I read something about them finding like much more like higher activity of neutrinos down by Antarctica.
Interesting. Let's see, neutrinos, Antarctica.
Ooh. Bananas from Antarctica are like superfoods.
Ice Cube Neutrino Observatory. A neutrino observatory constructed the Amundsen Scott South Pole Station in Antarctica. The project is recognized CERN experiment. RE10. Its thousands of sensors are located under the Antarctic ice, distributed over a cubic kilometer. Similar to its predecessor, the Antarctic muon and neutrino detector array, Amanda, Ice Cube, come on, this is like a Rick and Morty thing, consists of spherical optical sensors called digital optical modules, called DOMs. Oh man, we all know what they do at the McMurdo too. Each with a photomultiplier tube, PMT. I don't even know what kind of S&M acronym that is, but I'm scared. And a single board data acquisition computer which sends digital data to the counting house on the surface above the array. Ice Cube was completed on December 18th, 2010.
Ice Cube, baby. Baby.
Interesting. Location? Are they kidding? Oh, okay. I thought that red dot they were saying it was like
It's right in the center.
Right there.
Of
Right in the
that.
center in Antarctica. Right, it's like Oklahoma.
My buddy Eric Hecker actually worked a year down there, and I'll have to have him back on for another interview. He's saying that that equipment and those setups and tests are for far more than just quote unquote neutrino testing in science, and that from his experience being down there, it's some sort of crazy, like, he thinks it's almost like a conscious weapon or like telepathic of some sorts. Who actually knows?
I don't trust
It's
it.
the
It's controlled by
Mandela
the Madison.
effector.
It's controlled by the University of
It
the
puts
Madison,
us asleep.
Wisconsin. We should look at that
Oh,
freaking
good
logo for
Lord.
Wisconsin.
The Newman Lumen?
Dude, that's
Newman.
Newman
We
Lumen.
gotta make some Newman
That
memes
is like
about
the
that.
scariest Illuminati group,
Oh,
like
it's
Midwest
so
Illuminati.
it's like
We're
a
from the
Seinfeld.
Newman Lumens.
It's
Oh my
like
God.
Newman.
We see all. You don't even know, but we know. Okay, I don't know. I mean, but yeah, basically, if you've got a university to run every single experiment for CERN, so each one is separate from the other. It's a need-to-know basis with everyone knowing that it's a need-to-know basis, and people move on through to their careers before they can ever think about it. Look up Fermi Lab's G2 experiment.
We sure will, Shameful.
Oh,
Sweet.
yeah. The muon G2 will better understand the properties of the muon and use them to probe the standard model of particle physics. It does kind of sound like that, doesn't it? Pronounced G-2. G-2 uses nerds. Fermilab power accelerator to explore the interaction of short-lived particles known as muons with a strong magnetic field in empty space. Scientists know that even in a vacuum, space is never empty. Instead, it is filled with an invisible sea of virtual particles that, in accordance with the laws of quantum physics, pop in and out of existence for incredibly short moments of time. Scientists can test the presence and nature of these virtual particles with particle beams traveling a magnetic field. The muon G-2 experimenters examine the precession of muons that are subjected to a magnetic field. The main goal is to test the standard model's predictions of this value by measuring the precession rate experimentally to precision of 0.14 parts per million. If there is an inconsistency, it could indicate the standard model is incomplete and in need of revision. Well, I think we all know that.
So kind of like a one-hit wonder. It comes in and it's like bomb in your brain, like big blast or big effect, and then it's gone.
I mean, there's a lot of documentaries about this.
Or does it come back again? Like, is it a one time and done?
Oh, I don't know if I can find it now, but I remember seeing is this one? No.
Like Jesse's Girl.
There's a great physics documentary, and it was interesting because usually you watch a physics documentary and it's like, scientists believe this. But really, what's going on is a bunch of scientists are arguing with each other, and they're just desperately trying to get their PhD. I don't know where it is.
Right? Kind of like string theory. Like, where's the testability of it? And they're all just so incomplete. We definitely need Jeremiah on for, like, the most up-to-date and understanding of all of this subject.
I have no idea where it is now, but basically it was this great documentary that had like 12 different PhD students going for their PhD, and only one of them could have been right. All of them had to have been wrong, or one of them could have been right. And it was really interesting because they all knew it, and it was very like Battle of the Bands kind of documentary. Like, you know, which one's going to be the next big band, and you don't know which of the 12 is going to make it. You're kind of hoping that one of them might, but you realize that all along the way, their whole lives are built on lies. And, you know, I mean, they know it too. Like, this is like a bigger deal than just getting a career. it's going to prove that everything they believe is a lie. And that, of course, happens. And then they have to start over again, and it tends to be some kid who's out of the system who proves that everything that they've been trying to prove in the system was not true.
Word.
Chaos.
Right.
Well, what about
I'm just gonna grab something so I can set up that acoustic levitator.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, do that. And when you get back, we'll also talk about your astrology, because I know that's the thing that you wanted to get into.
That's
guys.
what I want to talk about tonight, for real.
Dude.
Bernie's big three.
Radioactive bananas. I don't know. You'd have to eat 10 million bananas at once. Brittany? No, I'm just kidding. But like, you have to be careful. Don't eat 10 million bananas.
I don't even eat bananas because I like bananas.
If you eat 274 bananas a day for 7 years, you might have chronic symptoms.
They say that you eat bananas and it draws mosquitoes to you. So being in Minnesota, not in the winter. In the winter, it's like free reign, but in the summertime, I'm always hesitant. Like, am I going to emit something that draws mosquitoes to me? That's what people say. Don't eat bananas. I don't know. I don't believe it. I haven't looked into it, but it has impacted the amount of bananas I eat.
Dude.
And then get the fact that I will get organic bananas, but people say there's no such thing as an actual banana.
All it would take is like if they started having hundreds of different kinds of bananas, and then I would be down. If they just started being like, here, and this week there's this kind of banana, and this week there's, if there was like Baskin Robbins, Banana Robbins, and you could just get a different
banana Robbins is the best idea.
I would go in there and I'd be like,
all time, talk to them.
What kind of banana?
Let's make a banana Robbins. Oh my god. Oh. You could have strawberry banana. You could have bananas flavored like different things.
I mean, yeah, the potato savory bananas.
Everybody likes bananas with everything, so you could just have like, banana fudge bananas, but just the banana itself tastes like that. Banana Robbins. Oh my gosh, I love it. But they do. I think they do something about the way you metabolize the potassium does draw mosquitoes to you. Like
there's like I think there's 40%.
I don't know.
40% more potassium in a date than there is in bananas. So if you really need potassium, you're better off having a date.
There's double the potassium of a date in a coconut. So if you're really getting down, get a coconut water.
But what, like, okay.
Now,
so then
though,
if you
I'm
eat dates, I wonder.
and ramen.
Ooh.
I could imagine plantains. Yeah, see, plantains and ramen. That could be a thing. Just fry some banana.
Oh my gosh, at the Kings game the other night, they like did these, they released ramen, like it was an advertisement for a ramen company, and they went to the top and like released these ramen bombs. I'm gonna post
was it
I was like, this is kind of
pre-cooked
brilliant marketing
ramen
thing.
Was it like was it ramen that was like cooked ramen already? Like
it was like a ready-made one.
Oh really?
Yeah, no, that I just was it from the Netflix show? I just watched this show where they had to, it was like snack versus chef, and these people created a bag of sushi. It was like sushi trail mix, and they had salmon. People would have loved it, and they also had ramen. And this woman made a snack ramen that was like a cooked ramen and already, and it was like crunchy and stuff. And then they're like, "This could be marketed." So I'm wondering if they literally did that after the show, and then they went to the Kings game. And
then
I mean.
Wait, it's dried sushi packets? I want that.
No, but it's sushi trail mix, man. It looked really good.
Have you guys seen Space Dandy? You know this show?
Mm.
He's in space and he's dandy. He's space dandy with his pompadour.
Aren't we all space dandy
and
then?
He's pretty much, he goes around shooting aliens with his Nikon and taking pictures of them for the like Wikipedia space.
Good and bad, both, or like just the bad aliens?
He just takes pictures of them.
Oh, I thought
shooting them with his Nikon.
Oh,
his camera. But like what he does is he's got this cat who's a cool space cat, but he's always on his phone all the time. And there's this like auto-tuned robot who's kind of worried a lot and trying to help. And at one point they go to this restaurant called Boobies. I mean, actually they go to Boobies a lot. That's their favorite restaurant.
Like Hooters, but only it's called Boobies.
It's called Boobies.
It's a knockoff.
No, I think it's like the more legitimate one. It's like,
oh, we're the knockoff.
Yeah,
there's actually
Earth
Boobies that exist, and then we copied it.
Similarly, there's like Earth Ramen, and I can't tell if Earth Ramen comes from Earth, but I'm pretty sure it comes from space because at one point they find the best ramen, which is what they're trying to do with this cat. Is find the best ramen.
Oh, I have seen an episode of this.
Yeah, I thought that's what you were talking about at first.
No, I'm talking about the Netflix show where chefs compete and they try to cook snacks versus
I'm just saying you could have been talking about something far more interesting with space.
Oh my god. No, I have seen it.
No, but like, so they go to space and they find this dude who like his tears actually soak the bowls of ramen because he's like this space alien that like lost his lover because he made her explode or something like that with his beautiful ramen, and so now he just uses a portal to send ramen to Earth, and that's kind of
Yeah, I've had ramen like one time in my life.
and it kind of tasted like that, you know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
You're a fan of ramen.
I like ramen. What do you think, Julie? Do you like ramen?
No, you should not. No comment.
I like ramen.
Yeah, no.
That's fair. How about the astrology big three? So earlier, Brittany comes to me. She's like, "What are the big three?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? The big three?
Yeah,
big
big
three.
three.
What? Big three in astrology?" I'm like, "Do you mean the ascendant sign, sun sign, and moon sign?" And we looked it up, and I think that's what they mean. And you think that's right? What do you think?
Is it? Did you go and look yours up?
I mean,
He knows
I know
his.
those, right?
But
What
what
your
does it mean to
ascendant?
know them?
Is my ascendant not my normal sign? Is
What's
that
your-
not the?
Yeah, what's your ascendant?
So my ascendant would be Pisces, and then my sun sign is Leo, and my moon sign is Leo,
What? What does
right?
it even mean?
Because if I'm a Pisces, my ascendant sign is Pisces. Isn't
No,
that how it
no,
works?
that's your
No?
sun. Your sun is
Oh.
with Pisces.
All right, so then I failed this test. So how do you do this? So we
Good.
put this thing in here.
Put your date of birth.
We should really be doing this to Bernie.
We are eventually when he comes back, because you already knew yours. Whoa!
Oh my gosh.
Look away, everybody.
Ugh. Oh, I have to say San Jose.
Everybody's gonna know
California.
where you were born.
Oh dear, Silicon Valley. Pretty
Oh,
clear.
dear.
Sun in Pisces, moon in Leo, ascendant in Leo.
Oh,
You're
your
close.
so is Bernie's. Bernie's ascendant is in Leo.
So sun sign is the Pisces one.
Yeah, that's your sun, and
Okay.
your both of your ascendants are in Leo, and
Right.
and in this lifetime, like you guys need to get center stage and get used to putting yourself in the spotlight, which you guys make it look easy, but it's kind of like not first nature for you. It's kind of a little bit of a struggle, and
Indeed. But yeah, it's
you
funny
guys-
also because it's the same thing, right? But why is sun sign not your ascendant sign? Or is ascendant the rising? That's what rising means? I get it
yeah,
now.
ascendant is your rising.
Okay.
And moon in Leo is very like feel what I feel. You know, like you got like the Leo is ruled by the sun and it radiates. So like your moon, your emotions, what you emit, everybody feels around you like much stronger. So like if Andreas is feeling upset about something, like it's gonna be hard to be in the same room and not get upset about exactly what he's feeling. You know, you emit.
Good. What's that
it.
movie? The Network. I want you to be angry. I want you to get up and be angry. Yeah.
Whatever you're feeling, you like
But there's
get,
difference.
naturally.
This has
everyone
nothing to
around
do
you
with your
feels
like
it.
zodiac sign at all, or like what does this have to do with your like horoscope sign, like your birth sign? Like I don't get it. So these three are completely different.
Those are your big three. The big three, the big three. Yeah. Big three.
But you're not a Pisces, aren't you?
I'm a Pisces. Hey, Bernie, you're back? Oh, he walked away again.
Did they
know.
change that? I thought you were like a Cancer or Aquarius or something. I don't remember.
Shows what you know. No, I mean, Aquarius is 2 minutes before my sign, and it ended, and then it goes Pisces.
Oh,
One
Yeah, I
of
was
yours?
like, you have such a trans birthday. He's like,
weird.
He's like, I just got out of this sign, but I have a little bit of that in
Well,
it.
One of yours, Brittany?
Obviously, sure. I'm a Leo, so that'll be my. Which one is that of my big three? If I'm actually.
What time are you born?
8:46 a.m.
And where?
Never unmuted.
Cambridge, Minnesota. There's Bernie. We're gonna do yours soon, Bernie.
Nice. My
Yeah.
birth chart.
Well, it's not your. This
So
is.
big three: Sun in Leo, Moon in Taurus,
Yeah.
Ascendant in Virgo. Oh no, I'm just kidding. I just want to make all those noises. What do any of those things mean? Tell us what they mean.
I don't know what they mean.
Moon and Taurus, like you're passionate but you hold on and store a lot of things. Like it's hard for them to let things go and to get over things, to really release it. And they say Moon and Taurus are like pack rats, like even like visibly with stuff in their house. Like it's hard for them to like let it go. Like it's good to filter out the things. You got to like help them like hold their hand and be like, okay, let's filter through your closet, like let's go through the kitchen, like let's get things out. And as you do that with things around you, it's easy, it almost, emulates on the inside.
But I only
like,
get
things you
important
like,
things
She
that I
has
need.
so much stuff.
sentimental,
like,
because it means a lot. Like you're real
This-
passionate.
It means a lot to me.
dude, right behind her are like dolls that she's had all of her life. Yeah.
Dolls.
Yeah, the troll doll.
Oh.
There's a girl
I
talk
collected
card
trolls
with
when
new
I was
kids on
younger.
the block, and your pogs. Your pogs. No, I love pogs. One of my favorite things. What does the ascendant in Virgo mean?
So I gotta get rid of my pogs.
I love pogs.
But God.
Ascendant
Am I
in
magic?
Virgo, like what, like the thing is like you see, like Virgo placements, you see like it's critical. Like a lot of people can't handle strong Virgo placements because they see like, yeah, that doesn't work, and they're critical of like that doesn't
Yeah.
work.
They love that show, The Critic. All of them. Every Virgo.
But the gold, what I see the gold in those placements is they see how solutions. Like if you see that's not going to work, no, and you criticize it, you could see like a way, solutions of like, no, you got to change this. This is how you change
Problem
it.
solving?
Yes, excellent problem solving.
I don't know about that. Maybe not problem solving, but problem spotting. You'd be like, this stinks.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? That's a Virgo trait.
I do.
That's
I'm not a
trait.
Virgo. I'm a
No,
Leo.
but that's your rising, right?
I don't
Your
know, but I'm
ascendant
a
is who you
Leo.
pride yourselves to be, and it's a set of
Yeah.
qualities you aim to develop.
Yeah.
Like Bernie and Andreas, they're aiming to develop more Leo qualities of like how to go in center stage and get in the spotlight and be okay with it and
Bernie,
shine.
what's your birthday?
Interesting.
When is my
Unmute.
birthday? July
When-
17th.
Who doesn't remember their own birthday?
Oh, sorry.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Wait,
Jeremiah
is that Jared?
is in the chat. He's going to
Jared,
join
I mean
in
Jeremiah.
15 minutes and can answer some more.
Jeremiah.
What year were you born?
Oh, 85. 1985.
1985. Okay, what
What's the
year?
year
What
of the
hour?
ox?
What hour were you born?
8:30 a.m.
I was gonna
I was
say
born at
what minute.
8:46 a.m., Bernie.
8:30.
Nice.
Way to
Yeah.
go.
I gotta wonder about that too. Like all these rounded numbers. Like these doctors didn't put 419. Like, was it really 420? Was I really born at 420? Was the doctor busy at 421? Because you know what they
That's
do in
hilarious.
California at 420.
Oh my
What
God.
city are you born in?
Calgary, Alberta.
Calgarian, through and through.
Calgarian Targaryen.
Calgary, Alberta area. All right.
Full disclosure, Bernie.
The
Here you
sun
go.
is in Cancer, which is good to know because it's amazing that I've made it this far into your inner circle. Actually, I'm impressed now. No, I mean, they have pointy claws, sharp, pinchy claws, but juicy innards. Anyway, moon in Cancer as well, which is pretty based. That's also means like you're lovers. You're like, I got to be
Almost
careful.
full Cancer.
And then it's no, because your ascendant's in Leo. Julia was saying, for you and me, we got this like rising sun of the tribe of Judah.
Yeah, and you'll follow.
Julia,
It's important
take it
for you
away.
guys to like the ascendant in a Leo. It's important for you guys to follow your heart, like you will, and you pride themselves. Like ascendant in Leo is like you pride yourselves on value yourself on who you are and integrity and to be honest. And you aim to be to stand out, but you will follow your heart. Like imagine the Wizard of
So-
Oz, the lion. Like ascendant in Leo is like being in touch with your heart and being brave to take the lead and become the leader and go in center stage and shine and be comfortable in that. Because, you guys really do make it look easy, but it's not necessarily easy for you guys to go in the spotlight and be okay with it. I'm sure.
Saying
Brittany
if
would
you
argue with
were
that.
Born and raised,
Yeah,
I'm not
right.
saying- if you're born and raised a Leo, you're saying you're already in the honesty and in the spotlight, like and comfortable with that.
Brother,
Right, but there's like
Okay.
there's two elements
Yeah.
of like
get-
Leo qualities where you have the lion that's like and is has their presence, but you also have the shy pussycat. Like they have
That's
that
true, I
element
would say.
of like where they know when to stand and be bold and and shine, but also like little
I
shy
hate Sarah.
pussycat.
Stop it. I hate her.
That's
I want to
like
be Petrie
such a
or
good
anybody else.
analogy of
Could be.
like how I feel about myself in my life. Like it's crazy how it works.
Well,
And
yeah,
I
as a
would-
Cancer,
you
though,
have
also.
so many you have so many placements in Cancer, which is so wonderful because Cancer, they're so sensitive and caring and nurturing, and they
Dad's a
put their
Cancer.
moms on a
Cancer.
pedestal. Like I always was like, if I ever have a son if I ever have a son, I hope I would
Aim
try to
towards
strategize to
July,
make him be a
right.
Cancer, because he would forever have his mother on a pedestal. Because normally when you have children, like, you know, the boys, they grow up, they build their own families and they don't stay as close as the daughters. The daughters stay, they take care of you no matter what. But the boys, you know, they'll go and kind of break away and start their own family. Well, depending on, you know,
Do
about
Leos
connections.
stay close to their family?
God.
I'm definitely a mama's boy.
My son is a Leo.
Right back to Sarah.
And
Let's
I
keep
really
going.
hope he's gonna stay. He's gonna be home forever. That's what I know.
Leos start
Anyway.
their own tribes,
That's really
right?
they?
Or no? What do Leos do? Is that what they do? Take over the tribe, the alpha out. What do they do, Julia?
Leos
Alpha
are great.
out?
Yeah, they're great leaders, you know, excellent leaders in battle and things. So their strength, they you know, like rule strength. So people follow strength no matter what.
Hmm.
But
There
yeah, like he has a moon in Cancer, and their Cancers are very psychic. All water signs are extremely intuitive, and they're great at reading people. You know, Cancers, and they have great sense of humor, and they look for emotional connection, and they're able to really, like, people sense that they care, so they get successful because of, like, through their networking and their interpersonal relationships. You know, but they're so nurturing. But some people could say that they could be moody, and some, you know, you could also describe them as kind of vengeful, because they teach you, you know, they go and you sting them, like you hurt their feelings. They're going to try and train you. And Brittany has Venus in Cancer. I'm a Cancer rising, but, like, you know, they try to train people of, like, look, don't you hurt me again, because, you know, they're so intuitive and sensitive that they'll do kind of vengeful things to show people, don't you effing even think about doing that again. Don't hurt
You
me.
don't say anything mean ever
Right.
to
And
me. 'Cause it hurts my feelings, and I will say way meaner things than you say
I'll pinch you, man.
because I don't know how to respond to that. Like, I shut down because I don't say
Yeah, but
mean
like
Yeah,
that's
things
so
to
it's
people
go
in
on your
interesting
general.
because Bernie's
Hmm.
ascendant isn't Cancer, so his ascendant, you know, his rising is Leo, so he's like, you know, he's got to, that almost comes off as Canadian, like gotta be like welcoming and like positive and extrovertian. That's
also
wrong
Minnesotian.
Just
connotation.
destiny, right? The
Yeah, but
Canadian-
man, you're still, you know, as a person though, like I can imagine like you'd be a good person to be with in like an emergency, like, you know.
Yeah. Or any time. I would want Bernie there.
Yeah,
No matter
for
what's
sure,
really
yeah.
happening, if we like go to a movie, go to the bar, the apocalypse.
The apocalypse.
I would take,
The
yeah.
movie
I actually,
at the
Bernie
bar.
and Julia, you'd be
Apocalypse.
both great to have in the apocalypse.
Yeah, I'm
I
like,
always
you need
love
a
this
source of
symbol,
water.
too.
Let me remote view where the water is.
Oh yeah.
What a brutal 69 of a
Word.
symbol for the
Your
Cancer
lifesaver.
I
as
feel
well.
like in ancient days that the symbol for Cancer was the scarab. Is that, maybe that's even a thing? But I always,
Let's find out. Cancer, Scarab.
I heard it used to be that, and then they changed it to a crab.
Funny.
Sounds about
I think I
right.
sent you a scarab,
Levitate.
Julia.
Didn't the
I
guy
sent you-
build
did I
the
send you
thing
one of
based
those?
off of the scarab stuff? Like, that's how he built the machine that you stand on and it flies. You know what I'm talking
Scarabs are cool. Wait, who invented the machine?
about? I forget his name, but he built the machine based off of, like, the thing that happens with scarabs and the hummingbird. And then he there's footage of him. Bernie, do you know who that guy is?
Scarab levitator?
And it levitates.
Victor Grebetikov, I believe that's how you pronounce it.
Dang.
Victor Beredikov.
Grebetikov.
Sorry, it just tied into, like,
G-R-B.
everything we were talking about.
G-R-E-B.
GR. Grebetikov.
Grebetikov. G-R-E-B, I believe.
Sorry, Brittany, what did you ask me?
Did it.
Oh,
Nice.
it was like a few minutes ago.
I'll come back to it.
Russo scientists. That's how cool they are that they get to put Russo right in their scientist title. It's like, we're real scientists. Russo scientists.
Yeah, look at that. Like a scooter shape, but it flies.
Dude, it's the Fred Flintstone thing. Remember Fred Flintstone's flying scooter thing?
I never saw that.
Oh man, it's not quite the same, is it? No, there's this thing, right? I like that.
It's
a little
close.
different, but the board, come on, the board, it's still a board, okay? And he's got the.
That's what I want for my
He's
family.
holding on to the pogo stick.
We should all have those. Seriously.
I don't know. So yeah, the Beatles. I mean, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I sent you a
I
Scarab,
never thought
Julia.
about that. The cancer
Yes,
is
I
not
think, yeah.
the
gosh,
symbol.
And I have the
loved it.
matching one. It's a
I
little,
loved
it's a
it.
little thing. I bought 2 of them.
Thank you
I
so
was like,
much.
I
It
gotta
was, like,
send
the
this to
best
Julia. I didn't
package.
realize what it was. Like that it was connected to that.
What a bummer,
Possibly
though.
the
Like
sun.
if you could have been called the Scarab, and now you're called the Cancer.
The crab.
Yeah,
right.
crabby people, cancerous. You know, none of those things sound good. And I love my dad. I love cancers. I love Bernie. I love cancerous people. You know, people with cancerous attitudes. So we got to figure that out. Maybe we got to start calling you guys Scarabs. But Scarab even
Yes.
sounds a little weird too, doesn't it? Or is it
Scarab.
good?
Right?
I like the
It's
beetle.
do I want to be associated with a dung beetle, or is that what
Yes. Right.
I think they're cool.
Better
I
than
think the idea
cancer.
of, the thing of like rising
I
out of the
mean,
dung like a
Yeah.
gem.
Isn't that what
is
we're
in the
doing here?
dust.
We're taking all of our crap and
True.
we're, you know, propelling it to like ascend from.
A scarab is the diamond in the rough. And yeah, it is weird that it's associated with fecal matter, but cancer, you got to
Circle
pick on
life.
your own. We talked earlier about this fecal index,
Oh dear.
but everyone's done with dinner. The fact is, if you get Ethiopian athletes fecal index, and
It goes for a lot of money.
The spice? Is this
You-
the spice?
it's the spice.
It's
It's the
the
spice.
That
So
was funny.
you can change your whole gut biome by getting the the gut biome. It's like
the
horrible.
butt guy.
God.
Sorry.
Ugh.
Clean it up.
In order to make yourself healthier, because all of a sudden your gut fauna would. They found this increases energy. People will sleep 5 hours a night instead of 13 or whatever has been going on. They lose a bunch of weight. They start running every day.
If they eat the spice?
No, they don't eat it. Calm down. I mean,
Sorry.
no, this is
continue.
like they put this in your gut biome.
Yeah, they
You know
have.
what
The
I'm
So
saying?
you don't eat it, they
transfers. Have,
inject it?
Like people that are
How does
really
it get in your gut?
overweight, they get like a
Turkey-based,
thinner
too.
person's stuff, and then
Through
they
surgery?
have it put in there.
It's called
Yeah, it's a
fecal
fecal transplant, and
transplant.
it's a lot of money, and they
Yeah.
have dramatic results. Like it
Like
works,
into your
and they sell like selling
anus?
poop goes for a lot of money.
But
So,
how do
have
you
guys looked into
you
that?
put it
Like,
It's
up
the
your
same
butt?
as a colonoscopy or a colon
An enema?
cleansing, but instead you're leaving this fluid there in order to commingle
Somebody
with
else's
yours.
shit is going up your
Why do you
ass
have to say
into
these things on
your
the internet? I have to like
body.
Don't say like that. Like that's the limit of what you can say.
fecal.
Yeah, fecal microbial transplantation. This is a very successful.
Somebody
treatment.
else's.
Yeah, and they have an index of thousands of different people from all over the world that have different
Donated their
natural immunities.
I know
Your
it makes me when I
fecal
drive by
gut biome,
Huntington Beach
microbial.
and I see like the plant, and I'm always like, dude, what is it? Is that like a
What?
is it like gold? Like what are
Yeah.
they doing with it? And
So you can get your
filtering it
buddy's
and-
poo and put it in you and have a better
All
result.
right, maybe you could make ads if you're going to say it that way. But it's called the FMT.
Didn't South Park
Fecal
do
matter
an
transplant.
episode
Oh
on
yeah,
that?
we talked about the spice.
Yeah, South Park FMT.
No, what's his name? The football player.
I mean, you could have said just
Let's
what
let
it is.
Andreas
Just say
try
what
and
it
find
is.
out
It's a
the
fecal
name.
matter transplant, but it's a real thing, and apparently, it's actually really successful at keeping people healthy. But
Tom
people have
Brady's
used it incorrectly
poop.
without correct science, and that's also caused problems. But the more important thing is, it's not just certain people; it's all over the world. You get everyone's different gut biome, microbial data, and you can select which kinds of gut biome you can actually pull out of the millions of microbes.
So you could have Sarah's.
You could have specifically the one in Sarah and the one in Steve
That at least show
that
Tom
was
Brady.
useful for someone's energy flow or living
I'll take
longer or
Tom
whatever.
Brady's poo, I guess. In South Park
So-
program me to be okay with that part of it.
I mean,
He's pretty bad ace, but
And the alternative is you've got these
I
weird
just don't
parasites
want it on
living
my
inside of you
body.
that have been living in there since McDonald's, and they don't know. Like, if you eat dirt in Ethiopia, you probably have something in your system that'll just destroy the McDonald's
okay.
parasites.
So people are okay with taking somebody else's poop and putting it in their body, but they're
Fecal
not okay
microbes.
with taking someone else's DNA in a vaccine in their blood. but you'll take someone else's poop.
Some people are not okay with either, I would say. Some are okay.
It seems like
both.
you're like all for taking someone else's poop and whatever, but not for someone else's DNA.
Man, I can see where you stand on the issue, but I get the point
The
across that it
issue.
exists. That's all I'm trying to say. And I don't
I
think
told
it's
you about the
necessary.
guy that he helped pro athletes to get like advance their careers and their performance increased because he would do certain, gut biome tests and fecal tests and to determine what strains to give them. And he was like a wizard with it, and he would give them certain strains. But I'm sorry, I wondered if it's not just probiotic strains, if it's also certain fecal things implanted. But these people had amazing, Olympic athletes, like professional, famous athletes.
From the fecal implants had better results than like a parasite cleanse or what? Does it do something to that effect? Does it detox you from
microbes
parasites?
control
populating your realm, like strategically of like your gut biomes, your brain biome, and your, and how you operate. So it's like
microbes digest food for you, so you don't use that energy to digest food. It's digesting it for you, and it's getting energy on it for itself.
So you're sending your nutrients to different places, and
you've got a whole other thing you're supporting, so you have to eat a lot more. But on the other hand, it doesn't affect you the same way that digestion would normally if you're in charge of digestion.
Do they have to remove it then when it's done doing its job?
Remove what? No,
like
it just stays part of you. It's never done doing its job. All of a sudden, it's going to stay
forever.
Yeah, it's going to be able, because every time you eat a hamburger, it's going to have to defeat the hamburger in battle because you're an American.
You have a fecal implant forever from somebody else.
Well, you make it sound like it's a chip. It's not a chip. It
sounds just like Neuralink. This sounds like Neuralink to me.
It sounds like
of the gut
nanotech.
biome.
It's nanotech. And the future of nanotech, actually,
it's worse than Neuralink, though. It's like somebody else's DNA in your body or their waste particle.
I mean, the question is that you could actually replace them maybe with nanotechnology that would be at the same
I would do
size
that. I'll do that. Instead of the actual fecal, in this instant, I would take the genetically modified or the cloned version.
We're not going to call it poop. We're not going to call it
of the fecal transplant.
Gut fauna or gut microbiota. If you want to say gut microbiota, that's fine. I'm all right with that. But gut fauna, and that's what it is. It's like, so it lives inside you, and you're a bus. You're a bus full of gut fauna.
Can't you use your own then?
Yeah, but yours isn't as good.
As whose? Yours?
Ethiopian
whose is better?
Athletes. The Tom Brady. The heck?
Mine is probably better than Tom Brady's.
I doubt it.
How do we know? Maybe Tom Brady needs my gut fauna.
I think you missed the point of the whole South Park. If you don't get it's the spice.
Yeah, what if mine is the spice?
Look at that chin.
What if Tom Brady had some of my spice and he was way even better? He was like an Uber athlete and he doesn't even know it. How would you know? I want to see the studies.
I mean, it is what it is. I don't know. We can get back to scarab beetles. Somehow that was all actually because of cancer and scarab beetles. I swear to God. Because they come out of the dung. Yeah, you see, there was a full circle.
Don't say that word. We're only supposed to say fauna.
We could say dung.
Full cycle. I love it.
Because it sounds like Graham Hancock.
We can't say poo?
Yeah, say something that sounds like British. Sound New English so you get away with it. I don't know.
Dung.
Gut fauna. No. All right. Well, okay. So the scarab comes out of the dung, which is actually a symbol of rebirth. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. And doesn't that kind of mean reset? When was the age of Cancer?
Symbol of rebirth.
Before the age of Leo. The age of Leo was during Moses and Akhenaten, right? Not Cancer.
So when you say, just wait, when you say they come out of gut fauna, they literally establish and are birthed from that. They don't have a parent. There's no reproduction.
The
scarab beetles.
Colony. The scarab beetles. Right. They're left by eggs, which end up in the dung.
From a mom and dad. So they don't come from stuff. They come from parents.
Right.
It's not magical growing.
Let's see here. Scarabs. What they do is they leave eggs. I think people swallow them. That also happens. Animals swallow them. They roll.
It looks like a stink bug almost.
Yeah, I don't know. They're interesting giant things. You can eat them. They're pretty if you think about it, but yeah, they do. They hatch their eggs out of dung. Dung keeps them there for like a few days
on their own or someone else's. In this case,
camels, humans.
They don't have big enough dung. It has to be a big piece.
Yeah,
gotcha.
But there's nutrients in there, and then those dung beetles live off the actually gut fauna, microbiota, and that's what nurtures, and the nutrients actually end up growing the beetle, which grows bigger, and then it can escape out of that within its first day.
Cool.
Age of Cancer zodiac. I wanted to look up though. So Cancer zodiac signs? No, okay, but like the age of Leo, constellation of Leo, right? And Taurus, like at some point the pyramids were arranged for the age of Leo. And so when you look at the sky, you turn it back, you're like, oh, this is why Graham Hancock says this happened 11,000 years ago, because that's when it would have been most likely that, according to our science, it would have been the age of Leo. But I wonder about that because it also means that there's these moments that lapse and we live in an entire time now that's supposed to be the age of Aquarius almost, or maybe is, right? What do you think about that? Some people say the age of Aquarius is for a long time off. Julia?
I only can, there's times, because we don't know what year it's like, I don't know. I theosophize all the time of like, what age is it really? Especially since we were so advanced not too long ago. If we were that advanced, a couple hundred years ago, then that would, then that would be confusing. If we were that advanced not too long ago, that could have been the age of Aquarius, or we could have been in it for a while.
Bernie, you got this? You got your acoustic levitator set up? What are you levitating?
Correct.
All right, I can tell there's going to be some echo here, but that's all right. So yeah, you got two speakers, one on top of the other, and then right in the center of it, you've got some sort of a wad of a thing. And this is on a chip, and it's plugged in with looks like a DC.
So you just try and levitate different things in between it. What can all go inside there?
Well, that's pretty small.
Up?
Isn't that what they say the pyramids were built, was through sound? Like
some do. Others, like Paul Cook, believe it's geopolymer more likely that made it. And on that note, I'm sorry I have to take off early as I have another stream starting with Paul Cook in 15 minutes.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Where I will be doing a live demonstration of how to make colloidal silver and monoatomic golds. Yeah, come and say.
That's awesome.
Amber would like to come say hi to.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah.
What's up, Amber?
Hi.
Hi.
How's it going?
I've just been sitting in the background listening to you guys pick each other's brains, and it's amazing.
Awesome.
We'll have to have
join us.
Welcome to join anytime.
Yes, for sure. We'll have you join.
We'll do a thing.
We'll do a ladies' night.
Yeah, ladies' night.
Yes.
Yes. Ladies' night. Oh, what a night.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's exactly, fun fact, the amount of that song we're allowed to sing before copyright. No,
yeah. That was good, though.
I think you're fine.
She's got a voice.
That's all. I love seeing him like collabing with the women.
Right?
Yeah.
That's dope.
Well,
it's
not
on
just
now.
100% testosterone.
In the meantime, if you're looking for more exotic testosterone, look at Crypto Alchemist channel. And wait, Exotic Propulsion just joined us?
Perfect timing, Jeremiah.
Yeah, give me like another 2 minutes, and I'm gonna get the a few things out. Show you guys some radioactive isotopes, and I know you dash, so we'll throw that.
Sweet. While you're setting that up, I'm going to show Bernie's other channel. Guys, go to Burn Eye Mind's Third Eye Science Guy, which is streaming from right now. If you're there, go back to Xirtus and stream and subscribe back and forth. Make sure that we're all subscribed to each other, and make sure you support Bernie and everything he's doing, and us. But thank you, Bernie, for all that you do, because you're amazing. We love you.
Much love.
Love you, Bernie. You're the best. And your lady.
See you soon.
Yeah, I love to Amber too. Yeah, peace, bro.
Thank you.
The Age of Aquarius is coming, and so is Jeremiah. Let's set that up, and then I want to get that picture loaded. It sucks. I really want to see that. That's cool. I don't know. The funny thing with the idea of like what year it is that how it works? Because we always talk about this sort of galactic expansion as our ability to tell that there was a big bang, because we look at space and it's moving outwards, but maybe there's a point more recently when it was moving inwards or something. It could very easily be that things have changed more recently than we realize, and there's enough environmental changes that have happened in the last 1,000 years that could have.
Well, honestly, this whole misnomer of space expanding because of the Big Bang is kind of absurd and ridiculous.
Sweet, I forgot you were here to do this. Thank God. I love
Yeah.
it.
He was
All right.
trying.
I'll throw out a
What did you
few
just say?
opinions that I'm sure will be very much disagreeable with mainstream physics, but amongst those are, let's just say they're my opinions on dark matter, dark energy, and the expansion of space.
Okay, what are they? I'm interested.
Me too.
I mean, this idea of expanded space is nonsensical, and the way we've based everything that we believe is that things must just have always been going the way they are going now, right? That's the whole idea, that things are moving apart a little bit, and so therefore they must have always been moving apart
Well,
since the beginning.
that's I mean, it's technically true. They have been slowly moving apart, but not in the conventional way that we think. Okay, so here's we're taught that light travels at velocity c. You know, we define all of our measurements, distance and time, by the speed of light. Well, we know that the speed of light is actually a consensus, because in the original measurements of the velocity c, there were many disagreements during different times of the year, and as we would move through parts of the Milky Way galaxy, our local speed of light seemed to vary in different measurements over the course of the years. They seemed to be consistent at any given point in time all over Earth, but those numbers would slightly change. And so, let's just say our scientific community all sort of agreed that they were going to pick one solid number, call that thing the gold standard, and then adjust
And ignore the rest.
to meet it. So here's the thing. As we're told, light has no mass. And if it has no mass, that means that it has no gravitational field, which means that it can't really interact gravitationally with much of anything. Yet, strangely, gravity curves the path of a beam of light, or it curves the path of a photon. But according to Einstein, anybody who's graduated college and understands physics, hell, you learn it in high school. Of course, there's a mass energy equivalency. Now, E equals mc squared is a drastically oversimplified version of the equation, because there are many other variables, and when you look at the whole entire thing, you find out that space-time itself has a variable refractive index. That means that different amounts of electromagnetic energy can actually change the speed of light. So, if we consider that light actually does have an equivalent mass because it contains energy, and we know that it contains energy and has an equivalent mass because it can physically push forces on objects. 130 kilowatts of pulse laser power delivered in a pulse stream during a externally hired NASA experiment to propel a small object. They found that they could move a 1-pound object on an air lubricated bed using a laser beam. Now, it's a pretty heavy object, and yeah, the force on that object was only about 130 grams, if I remember correctly, but that's still a lot of physical force and momentum being delivered by light. So if light can do that, and it can be absorbed at the surface within the first quarter wavelength, of course, that means space itself has to be carrying the light, or carrying the energy that that light is physically transferring from point A to point B. So if you get enough electromagnetic energy into a small enough volume of space, especially when you cross two different beams of light at an angle, you end up with a mass energy equivalence that actually does have an extremely small, but nevertheless present, gravitational field. And it can interact, although not directly with electric or magnetic fields, it can interact with the change in the refractive index produced by the electric and magnetic fields, and vice versa. So there are many theories that some of the advanced flying craft actually utilize trapped light, or light that's basically bounced back and
Oh,
forth.
wow. Did we just talk about Oumuamua earlier in trapped light? Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, if you trap light, if you take a single beam of light and you make it bounce back and forth inside of a chamber enough times, you could even use a fiber optic cable for this. Fran D'Aquino has a paper and an associated series of experiments in which a fiber optic cable of, I think, 100 turns was pumped with a continuous laser, and the optical facets on the end of that laser were specifically set up to bounce that light back and forth as many times as possible. On the bottom side of that fiber optic loop, a mass was placed, and the entire assembly of the mass and the fiber optic cable and laser were all placed on top of a scale. Well, it turns out that there's actually a force towards the mass, and if you put the mass on the top, it weighs less. Put the mass on the bottom, it weighs more. All because light is traveling back and forth through a cable. So we we see that things are moving apart from each other. The question is, where does this energy come from that causes the universe to seem to be expanding? Well, matter itself is constantly radiating energy. All those little electrons whizzing around, they are self-stable energetic fields, and they are constantly radiating energy. Of course, the proton itself is vibrating and Brownian motion is causing all kinds of electric and magnetic fields to constantly change position. All this is radiation energy, and it gets pumped out and travels out into the infinite depths of space, or infinite as far as we can tell anyways. And this can actually create gravitational redshift. And of course, it has a mass equivalency, so it starts to produce brand new space in a manner of speaking. You could think of it as the more electromagnetic energy that you put into in the vacuum, you're actually expanding or inflating that part of the vacuum. And if you can completely absorb or block out the electromagnetic energy in the vacuum, you actually get a contraction of space. Ever heard of the Casimir effect? Well, it's based on the same principles of the fact that light has a physical pressure or a mass energy equivalence.
Okay,
So
so
I have
really quickly, I want to ask about diamond then, because diamond is carbon, super dense carbon. Do you think Almuma or one of these? Imagine like a some sort of a diamond carbon heat or radiation storage system. Does that make sense to you? As like the super density of carbon in order to hold as insulatory radiation as possible to insulate the radiation?
Well, I'm not on Oumuamua, nor do I have any idea what it actually is.
Fair enough.
I mean, we've only seen pretty low resolution pictures of it, but of course, there's been many renders of what our scientists think it's supposed to look like if we could get a high
This is my favorite so far.
So
with the
could it be
rainbow liquids.
amplified with a diamond though, instead of stored? Could it
I mean,
run through a diamond and be
amplify light.
amplified?
Well, diamonds are actually used in some laser facets and optical cavities in order to redirect and trap light. So yeah, a diamond can actually act as a fantastic optical medium being made of carbon.
What if you throw a diamond in the middle of one of those chambers of light then and somehow use that to continue it like a radiation of light? And I also have another question. What's more powerful then if you can you contain like this might be a really dumb question, but like sound, can you put you're talking about light, and I also want to know what kind of light. Like, is it what kind of light can you contain in one of those things, and what's the most powerful on the spectrum of light?
If the material is made out of pure carbon and it's stacked in a nanostructure of diamond, so you imagine the entire thing is as thick of carbon as it possibly could be, while still having solid surface area with open volume, so that the amount of space in between, there's thousands of angstroms of space in between, then this has the most potential to store energy of any substance. So
okay, but what's the most powerful? Sound, light, or what? Because we're talking about, and there is a universal spectrum of measurement for power across fields or whatever when you're talking about this, and that's what gets confusing to me.
The truth is that sound or light, neither one is more powerful than the other. It's really depending on how much power is put into the system, and something called Q factor, which is short for quality factor, how many times you can bounce back and forth a percussive wave of sound. Or
can they be combined, sound and light waves, for any reason, or are they completely different mediums that are working?
There's actually a device that uses microwave energy to bombard a crystal that has a special cut on it, and it's called a photoacoustic oscillator.
Whoa.
And it's used to physically shift the direction of a laser beam by almost 15 degrees.
What?
You can even split a laser beam that has multiple wave bands into its constituent colors using sound to oscillate a crystal.
That's what I thought, but I didn't know. Wow.
No, you just need a medium in which you can modulate the two together, and it's generally very difficult to do that with, say, the atmosphere, because it's just not dense enough, so crystal is used. But you can even use light to interact with other light and produce sound waves. So there are many different devices that have been created throughout the course of years that use lasers to create localized heating in the air and expand it or contract it, producing sound. And there are also a few other devices, especially in quantum physics, where very, very strange things happen when high energy pulses of light are crossing the exact same path. It seems as if when we phase them just right, the photons themselves disappear for a little while. In some cases, they may even link or quantum lock with each other in a superposition. And now we would see that they actually be in either an upstate or a downstate, or they'd be basically in phase. And there's been a lot of controversy about that. It's the whole thing behind the double slit experiment and the misunderstandings that go along with it.
When you lock that, no, that's not, sorry.
For time travel?
You're saying you can lock, okay, they disappear. Sorry to interrupt you, but they disappear and they lock for a moment. Is that like a vortex field, or what do they measure when they're just gone? Or
they disappear for a moment, as in they're totally immeasurable. We can't detect that they're there, and then they pop out the other side. Seemingly unaffected, but with a slight phase delay, because they slow down ever so slightly because the energy is concentrated, which actually causes them to slow down, aka there was a gravitational field that caused them to shift their phase. That's how we know that light can interact with other light. And light is, of course, electromagnetic radiation. So if we get the correct type of electromagnetic radiation, we can affect light, make light. Even the thing that was just on screen that was called a synchrotron laser, it's a series of magnets that have an electron beam fired through it. That one right there. Yeah, skip right past it.
The back one? This one?
Yep. And so an electron beam is pumped through a series of magnets and it wiggles back and forth. And as it does this, it's producing an electric field based on the position of every single electron. And that electric field continues to move forward at the velocity of light in that local space-time. And those wavefronts build up on each other. And so we can use nothing but different spaced magnets and an electron beam that's traveling at a known velocity to actually produce any wavelength at any power of light that we want. It's used in spectroscopy. But anyways, the point of the call today was really to talk about radiation. So let me go ahead before Bernie has to dash. And let's
Bernie is gone.
Is he?
Okay. But hold on. I do have, before you go to radiation, I have a question about light and gravity. So if there's gravity pulling on light, I'll see like beams being pulled by this gravity to Earth, or like how does that affect it? When you said gravity has an effect on light.
Okay. So one of the big hoorays that backed up Einstein's theory of relativity was his prediction that during an eclipse, when the light from the sun is blocked out, the gravity from the sun might bend light coming from stars that would normally be blocked by the sun, and we can see them actually behind the sun, even though it's technically in the way, because the light will bend around the outside, curve its path, and then hit us. Everyone was very, very happy to have finally gotten some verification that light and gravity do in fact interact.
Interesting.
I wanted anything they could
get. This is actually there we go. Yeah. Okay, so we are looking at a laser interferometer, speaking of light, and a laser interferometer does use cross paths. We'll talk about that in just a bit, but first let's talk a bit about radiation. So this is a Geiger counter. It's a good old rebuild from the 1970s, and the probe that it came with is called a side window probe. So this is that probe here, and if you turn it, there's a metal, in this case it's actually stainless steel tube, and inside of that tube there's a little high voltage wire that's charged. Now that high voltage wire is charged with a negative potential, but the electrons can't quite reach the outside of the tube and cause a current to flow. So what happens is when a gamma or an alpha particle, when a gamma or a beta ray hit this thing, they'll sometimes get in the way and strike that wire, causing it to release some electrons, and those electrons hit the side and cause this device to tick. Well, this thing is kind of garbage, being honest. These side window probes are not very sensitive, so I went ahead and got the most sensitive probe that I could possibly find, and it's this little beauty here. Now, this was made in Ukraine. It's got a monstrous 3-inch window on it. That means that it is 17 times more sensitive than that side window probe I just showed you, so I can pick up things like gamma ray bursts coming from space and all kinds of fun things with it. And mainly the reason I got this was to look for positron emissions coming from gravitational sources. And I'm not going to get too much into positronium or positrons today, but we will talk a bit about some radioactive elements. So let's see, where did I put that fun, dangerous little box?
I like the color. It's daring. Canary daring. You know what I mean? It's a good banana color.
Literally, where did I put the darn freaking... Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah. So this is the box of fun.
Wait, it says radioactive.
Radioactive.
Oh my God.
Radioactive.
I will first off say that everything here, all these radioactive isotopes, are entirely legally
Oh,
available.
I'm sure they are. How safe are
What
you?
kind of tape is
and your
that?
family.
Oh dear. Oh, the tape is broken.
And so inside are a bunch of raw
Moving right along.
uranium ore samples of varying degrees of intensity.
Oh my God. Okay.
8,000 CPM.
Did you watch the Radium
just
Girls
were
part of the show?
trying-
earlier
yeah,
about the...
yeah.
Okay, never mind.
So-
I hope you're safe.
God, Jeremiah.
Guys, don't try this at home. Girls, don't try this at home.
Jeremiah
Nobody of any
was
gender or in
a
between try this at
bullfight.
home.
Okay, so on the display here, you can see some movement. Now it's designed to sit flat. I've got it upright, so the needle is slightly deflected here. If I
Can you do me a favor and sample this later? Because I love the clicking noise. I've always wanted to make a beat with it.
Whoa. Whoa. What is
I love that sound.
So what is this measuring?
Yeah, so this isn't a particularly powerful rock. This was just, smashed with a pickaxe off of a piece of rock that had a little bit of green on it. And a probe just like this was actually used to find these things. And what I've done is taken some thorium mantles and burned away the rest of the cotton that holds them together and stuck them in this little bag. So this is like 4 thorium mantles. Now these used to be inside of Coleman lamps. And when heat the stuff up, it glows incredibly bright, and it's one of the reasons why it was used. Well, now for modern liquid burning lamps, we don't use thorium anymore because, well, people could get possibly harmed from it, and I guess the idea of radiation scares everybody. It shouldn't.
Right. A lot of people think thorium could be a really great free energy source, though. It's probably the best thing we've got. There's just so much of it.
But check out how powerful this is. It's ridiculous. It's incredibly powerful. So this I use for gravitational control experiments when I need to force electron emission.
That's so based.
Alpha emitters. So alpha particles are just really, really fast moving electrons that come flying off of this stuff. This is also a slight beta emitter. Not a particularly powerful one. And this material is called silver activated zinc sulfide. So with strong enough alpha emissions in a totally dark room, tiny blue flashes of light can be seen with a long camera exposure on this window. There's no way you could actually see it here on camera or with this camera. I'd have to set up a special camera with an extremely sensitive CCD screen in order to see this. But anyways, radium is incredibly intense. It makes pieces of this uranium ore look like toys. And a tiny little bit of it is all that's needed to continuously cause something to, well, glow in the dark. Of course, it's so potent that it's usually mixed in with something else. And so back in the day, the Radium girls used to apply a special paint that was made with radium in it. And they didn't understand the dangers at that time, so they would lick their finger, or they'd lick the tip of the brush, and they would then use that brush to apply the thorium paint. And it was because they were trying to paint these teeny weeny little clock hands, and the brush would tend to spread out its bristles. So in order to keep them nice and tight, they'd start out at the beginning of their workday by licking the brush and tightening the bristles together. Of course, over the course of years, they were using those same brushes to paint radium paint. And so their bodies absorbed that radium, and I'm not sure if any of them are still alive. I'm pretty sure they're
none. They all died very quickly within like 8 years of
some did not work the job for all too long, and the dangers were slowly becoming known. So some of them did actually live to be rather old, and some of them started out rather old, but unfortunately it was too little too late. So just because the Radium girls thing happened, because a lot of people got exposed to radium paints by licking brushes, and using them to paint tiny little watch handles and clock handles, didn't stop the production or use of radium paint. It continued on for quite a while. It's just that people were told, do not use your own spit and do not lick the brush in order to apply the paint or straighten the bristles. It wasn't too complicated. But hey, old habits die hard, and people didn't know. They should have really been instructed. I used to work at a company that I was restoring batteries for back when I just got out of high school. And we were not told about the necessity of steel toe boots or anything else like that. And we weren't told about the issues with some of their equipment. So one of the pieces of equipment failed, and I had a huge diesel battery fall down 4 foot and smash me in the big toe. That was not fun.
Ouch.
So
I'm trying to get this article up at the same time to show, like, to corroborate your story, basically, that there were maybe people using radium paint into the 1970s, according to this.
Yeah, in fact, in some old tube radios, if you're ever so lucky, you just might find an old tube radio that happens to have a tiny little vial inside of it to re-up your radium paint. It's pretty common, but they've been sold on eBay. It's extremely hard to find these days because the stuff is all but banned. It's very, very difficult to get radium because it's such a powerful, dense radiation source. Now, let me see. Maybe I can
pull out my radium. I know what he's doing, this guy.
Radium is more powerful than uranium.
Oh my God.
Once
Welcome
it's
to
used-
Radium Girls Astrosophy. If you're just tuning in, Julia, Brittany, and Andreas are together with Jeremiah the technician. I'm sorry, I got a little. Jeremiah the technician is going to show us some pretty crazy stuff, radioactive materials. I think he's got a Geiger counter there. Is that what you're using?
Yeah, that's a Geiger counter. There.
Okay.
Okay, so let me try to slide this back. This thing is extremely sensitive. So this is a device that I use to look for tiny gravitational anomalies. If you guys...
in his spare time.
Yeah, it's sort of a full-time thing. I guess
What else does this
it would be inappropriate to call it anything else other than a total obsession.
A lifelong dedication and pursuit. That's fair. I'll give you that.
Is this measuring electromagnetic waves, or what is this measured to deduce?
So what we're looking at here is, and I'm trying to adjust it, get it just right. It's very, very sensitive. And it's going to take me just a minute to tweak it. I'm not going to try to get it to dot mode. It's way too unstable in dot mode. But what we're looking at here are called fringes. So what's happening is light, and I'll show you with this vapor here.
Is that in a vacuum?
Holy
tube?
shit!
Oh,
wow.
What happens is light comes out of this little laser head here.
What?
It hits this mirror and bounces to this 50% mirror, which is a reflector that allows it to both pass through and come to this other mirror over here and then bounce back to that reflector. And at the same time, the light also heads back this way and hits another mirror and bounces back. They both get...
And so if you had this laser on a completely not moving surface, if the mirror moved back and forth, you could use it as a laser cutter, right?
Not as a laser cutter, but to indicate a tiny change in either motion or a gravitational field that's been synthetically generated by electromagnetic radiation.
You get different fractions of the laser.
It's measuring electromagnetics. I don't know. I don't know what gravity has to do with it. It looks like we're looking at electromagnetic measurement directly in a field of electromagnetics.
You're actually correct in a manner of speaking, because light is an electromagnetic phenomena, because it has both an electric and a magnetic field vector 90 degrees apart from each other. What's happening is when the light comes back and it hits this mirror, this 50% reflected mirror, at the same time, some of the light actually cancels itself out, and those are the dark lines that we see in the fringe pattern. Some of the light actually adds together constructively, and these are the bright spots that we see. The reason it's moving around is because tiny little air currents and thermal differences are more than enough to cause the path length of leg A and leg B to change by a couple of nanometers.
And we can see it with the smoke because it's just visible. It makes it more.
Yeah, I'm just
Would
showing.
that work with anything? That's so cool with a vapor.
Yeah, so I'm just using a regular vape. So it's got this little window that I can fold down here, and if I take that away, you'll actually be able to see the light fringes traveling through the air much more clearly.
Yeah. The other thing you can use is not dust or just like shake up the dust real quickly. But this works too.
It's much better to not use any kind of vapor. In fact, it's not good to use anything around this. It should be completely clean.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, you guys shouldn't use these secondary electronics in general.
But that's amazing. That's gorgeous. That's a beautiful. That's a very
Okay.
aesthetically pleasing. If you zoom in on that and make like a music video, I would stare at that. Like it's crazy to watch.
This is a sexy
dissipate.
presentation, Jeremiah.
It's nuts.
Thank
This
you.
is nuts. This is like a delight. Thank you, Jeremiah. Like I just could look at this all day. But maybe I'm just a big nerd too. I don't know. That's crazy.
You guys, but whether or not it's a laser interferometer or it's just a pretty show laser, something is absolutely fascinating about light.
Wow.
I think it will always be fascinating. Light is a incredible phenomena with such wide-ranging implications and uses, but more so understanding exactly how and why it does what it does is absolutely a lifelong science. And it takes many years to learn the principles of photonics. And it's sort of a specialty that when somebody gets into it, it takes such a long time to learn all of the various details that once you're in it, you sort of stay in it. Plus, it never stops being beautiful and fascinating. It's just one of those things that keeps on giving back once you learn it.
Amen.
Okay.
I can't wait to dive in.
I'm not going to do any gravitational demonstrations with the interferometer, but this is the device that I generally use to look for them, and it's been more than successful in helping me identify certain phenomena. Now I'm going to show you something else that's also very strange about gravity and magnetic fields. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and shut that off. Now inside here, we have two test tubes that have two sphere magnets inside of them. Something really fascinating was discovered, and I'll be putting up a video on my channel soon. Void is Yin Yang already has covered this topic and asked me to replicate when I mentioned my fascination with it. And he discovered a series of papers and videos in which we can actually see a gravitational-like effect caused by the positional shift of two magnets. So watch, if I rotate these two test tubes, and I'm just turning them in my hands, we're seeing that these two magnets are climbing towards the top. Now, I don't actually have to continuously rotate them. I can just rock them back and forth, and we get the same effect. And so one might think, oh, the test tubes are tapered. That's why it's moving. Nope. Flip it upside down. Now, there are no external magnetic fields here causing this to happen. What's actually happening is these two magnets are trying to attract to each other, North Pole, South Pole, and gravity is pulling down ever so slightly, giving them a tilt angle. When I also give them angular momentum in any direction, the friction against the sidewalls of the tube cause them to shift in their position and move away from gravity, no matter which way the tubes are facing. Now, if I face
what the heck is gravity? What is this? What's going on?
Well, gravity is actually causing these two magnets to always move away from itself because it's causing the two magnets to tilt ever so slightly away from the pinch point where they're closest. So the outsides of these magnets, even though the field might be assumed to be completely straight across, there are actually two fields that are slightly tilted, exaggerated wise. And when I also add a rolling phenomena, these two fields will cause the magnets to climb up the walls.
Aesthetics in here.
So
electrostatics, you're saying?
No, then it would if electrostatic was captured, it would change the direction it would flow when you spin these. This might be the first experiment that's actually showing something to do with gravity that's ever existed. I'm not.
Right now we're using the friction of test tubes and a large surface area and magnets to demonstrate this phenomena, but the same thing can be done with electron spin by the trillions. And we can use that same exact effect to also generate a gravitational lifting force. I'm not going to get into exactly how it all works, but to say the least, it's a practical demonstration where we can actually see the phenomena of gravity and a set of magnets interacting with each other.
Are they trying to get to each other?
Oh, yes, they are. Yes, they're attracting.
Oh, that's romantic.
Confused right now.
Pull them apart. We can see that if I tilt them, take them too far apart, or if I tilt them up, I can, force them to roll up, but they kind of don't want to roll. And I have to be careful because if I let these two tubes snap together, it'll just completely crack them. I've already shattered the bottom of one. And it wasn't because they snapped together. It was just because the test tube was a little weaker on the bottom because I had used these previously for burning off nanopowder gold. And so the test tube was a little weaker on the bottom. And just the pressure of the magnet alone snapped the piece off, which is unfortunate. But these were like, I don't know, 75 cents a piece. So I'm not crying about it. But at least the demonstration is simple enough to understand a unique interaction between a gravitational field, a magnetic field like those of on a spinning electron, and the motion against the force of gravity. I mean, it's definitionally, in this case, anti-gravity, though technically this is only a crude analogy. It's not actually a demonstration of real anti-gravity.
And when you pull the things away from each other because they'll stop working together to create the force, right?
But let me ask this too. If the Earth, let's say there's a layer of some type of metal that is working with when you're spinning it, is that possible as well or not? If you're spinning
could I replace one of the magnets with, say, a metal ball or something?
I'm just saying, instead of...
Oh, I can't hear anything. Did I get cut?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello?
We
Hello?
can't hear Brittany. Yeah,
Brittany?
we can.
Brittany, talk.
What? Hello?
Are you not able to talk?
Okay, we can
No
hear you.
sound? Hello?
Brittany?
Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah.
Can they hear you?
I
Can you
think-
hear Andreas?
I hear you. Jeremiah, can you hear Brittany now?
I cannot. I'm not sure who's talking because all I can see is my own view of the screen.
Oh, sorry. Hello. We're both talking. Andreas had a question and I had a question. So if Andreas wants to go first.
No.
Oh, I was just wondering so what I'm watching you do, I think in terms of like magnet and earth layers and magnetic like repulsion or opposite effects. So if you're turning those and it's like you're just spinning the glass around, is that charging the two magnets you have?
Nope.
Is there something in the earth that would have a repulsion, like a magnetic layer of sediment of one of the earth layers that would be more repellent against what you're doing?
No, what we're looking at here actually has nothing to do with the composition of the Earth and everything to do with the fact that the mass itself is constantly radiating a type of field that we call gravity. And that type of field, when these two magnets attract, they want to attract straight pole to pole. And they're only attracted right at that point where they're touching the test tube and in intimate contact with it. But because gravity also wants to pull them straight down, the friction of these two magnets pushing against the glass walls keeps them in contact strongly enough where they can't just simply slide down. But gravity is also causing the back end of those magnets to tilt down, so that when we roll them like this, they tend to climb up the tube.
Could it be helium and hydrogen in the upper atmosphere that's actually pulling that, and it's more reactive to that?
You mean
as you're spinning
atmospheric gases to produce propulsion forces? Yes, it's not gravitational, but you can certainly use magnetohydrodynamics, which is the process of using magnetic fields to move large volumes of air or water or whatever your medium is. And
so when you're spinning that, is that what's happening? Could that, or is it too far away?
It's just
for that to impact it.
It has nothing to do with the atmosphere, nothing to do with what's in the earth at all, or the materials that the earth or the magnets are made of. It has everything to do with the fact that the magnets themselves have little electrons inside of them that are spinning around in their valence bands and all aligned with each other. And by giving them a little tilt, thanks to gravity, and it doesn't matter what the gravitational source is. I could put that thing in a vacuum chamber and motorize it, and we would see the exact same phenomena. I could basically take it way out into the vacuum of space as long as it's still anywhere within a gravitational field that's strong enough to give it a sufficient downwards force, and it would produce the same effect. So it really has nothing to do with what the source of the gravity is or what the atmosphere or other materials around it are.
So it's not an upward pull. You're saying that. I'm just wondering because they're moving up as you're doing it, right?
Right.
Interesting. Sorry, I just have that's.
I know it's a kind of hard thing to visualize, the tilt.
No. You're doing that's great.
I guess I can show it like this. Okay, so if I show it more in this way, if I turn these two tubes 90 degrees, so one of the magnets can't turn now, and I just simply bit up and down. You see how that little line
is
still turning.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's because this magnet is ever so slightly tilted off axes because one side is still pulled down by gravity. So if I move just one magnetic field, I still get that same rolling action, and we still get a response against the friction of.
Interesting.
Astounding.
I thought it was super fascinating when I first seen it on Void.
Yeah, this is
read the papers. So I'll be
actually.
copying. Like I said, I'm going to do a whole video demonstration and explanation of exactly what's on here in greater detail. Post it up on the channel and also link those original papers and videos in the description for people who want to read more about this phenomena and exactly how it works.
Yeah, that's interesting for sure. My mind's like.
Have you been able to try this with larger magnets, or is this the only size so far you've been able to try?
It works with any size magnet as long as it can basically roll. You can also use cylinder magnets on a flat surface and do something quite similar. You just have to move the flat surfaces in a slightly different way. It's not quite so easy to just simply rotate them back and forth. But yeah, it doesn't necessarily require any specific size of magnets. These things could be nanometer sized, or they could be the size of bowling balls, and the same effect would occur.
Wow.
Levitation.
There you go.
I'm thinking of Edley Scanlon, like putting glass things around his stones and raising them, and I don't even know. This is nuts.
I like this better because it's like bowling balls.
There's certainly a link between sound and the ability to resonate an object, giving it extra momentum along certain axes and also causing a gravitational effect. In fact, that's what this coil is for. Now, this coil I seen in a dream, and the original idea for this coil having a clockwise spin in one direction, going up to this point, and a counterclockwise spin in the other, basically creates this little pinch point, or this region between these two oppositely rotating magnetic fluxes. And just like we've seen with these two magnets, we're going to end up with two fluxes that try to move or rotate the physical ZPF by modifying the refractive index. In this case, it would be modifying the permeability of the space-time around these two coils in opposite directions. And that's going to create something called a Z-pinch zone right between these 2 points. So that Z-pinch is then going to travel into a special mixture that uses dissolved bug shells. It's called hydrogel, and it's made of chitin. Chitin is the material in insect shells. It's what was in Grubenikov's famous beetle wing platform. And that will be combined with a variety of other electron emitters, lanthanides, and a few other things that I'm not going to mention. It was an incredibly difficult mixture to get right, and I still don't know if I have it quite right, but layers of that will be charged to a very high positive potential. So in that case, I actually will be using an interaction between electrostatics by removing the balance of electrons from those materials. And by not having a sufficient quantity of electrons, the graphene platelets, well, now because they don't have enough electrons to totally balance out the quantity of protons, they're going to zip across that graphene at incredible velocities and act almost as if they're superconductive, which will allow me to use the relativistic velocity of those electrons to generate brand new forces that otherwise wouldn't be available.
You got some interesting comments in the chat. People talking about the idea of two magnets, perhaps the Earth and the Sun. Do you think that that makes sense? Does that work?
Well, yeah, the Earth and the Sun definitely have a magnetic field interaction with each other, and they have a gravitational field interaction with each other. Surprisingly large amount of linkage in terms of coronal mass ejections in the Earth. The Earth has two wonderful properties. One, it'll both pull in the coronal mass ejections towards a huge field that surrounds it. And two, as the field gradient gets denser towards the Earth, it will redirect those coronal mass ejections generally around the outside of the magnetic field so that they never quite get to the surface and destroy us all, burning telegraph lines as they had done previously in the late 1800s, I believe. CME fried a bunch of telegraph lines. And keep in mind, the very same thing could happen today at any point. We've just been lucky enough that the sun has been well behaved. But I know it's a major fear of those in the power distribution industry, and of course for informed citizens, the dangers of our very sensitive power grid to electromagnetic fields produced by corona from the sun striking our magnetic field and causing huge electric fluxes that burn up wires and blow transformers.
Man, that's insane. I also wonder about the idea that we're maybe charging our atmosphere or charging the earth with ground energy. Do you think that there's any truth to the fact that our use of electricity and energy might be affecting, I mean, using radio and waves, are we affecting the natural environmental energy, magnetism, gravity, and electricity? What do you think?
Well, the answer to all but one of those things is yes. All of our communications, all of our transmission of power and grounding is certainly affecting the magnetic field of the Earth. But it's doing it at such an insignificant scale compared to the absolutely enormous and almost unstoppable magnetic flux of the Earth itself that it's sort of easy to just blow off, as in it's not really a problem. The real problem with large electromagnetic energy densities is to biological life. In fact, unfortunately, with a lot of the high energy transmitter and radar tests, there have been cases where thousands of birds will simply drop out of the air being caught in a radar beam test and instantly fry them. And of course, there's been all kinds of other animals that have gotten sick. And now, because we have so much electromagnetic radiation flying around us all the time, we've observed a brand new thing that we had to give a medical name for called electrosensitivity, and a whole new group of people who are called electrosensitives. These are human beings who happen to be very sensitive to electromagnetic fields, particularly those high frequency fields. And they describe the sensation of burning, tingling, and uncomfortable pressure in different parts of their body, and mainly in their head. This is also the same way that voice to skull works, which is another tech that probably we shouldn't talk about.
No, that's fine. Actually, I was going to say, I remember this one time I had braces and I was standing in this part of my house and I could pick up 1080 AM, which is this like coastal like station. And I was like, are you kidding me? This is so cool. And it's just like cochlear, you know, like you can just kind of barely hear it, but you feel it. You feel the AM. And so AM is weird because it's not a lot of great music. A lot of the time it's like Rush Limbaugh on Vicodin talking about America. And you don't want that in your head. But it made me think a lot about the MK Ultra from an early age. Sorry, go ahead.
I had a question about the experiments, but Julia, you go ahead. I think you had something too.
I was wondering if you had any theories on the Schumann resonance, what Jeremiah perspective was.
Schumann resonance, if you wanted to know anything about it, the Schumann resonance is not an exacting 7.8 hertz or something stable like that. It's actually a varying frequency that shifts depending on the time of day and how hot the air is and how thick the atmosphere is. And it tends to shift around quite a lot. Particularly, the Schumann frequency changes the air density in different parts of the Earth, causing electromagnetic waves to travel and refract at different angles. And so we get these huge spikes where, although it may be an average of around 7.6 to 7.8 hertz, it can spike as high as 1.2 to 2 kilohertz, and it can drop as low as 5 to 6 hertz, all depending really where you are, your altitude, and like I said, mainly it's the density of the air. So the Schumann resonance is how long it takes for an electromagnetic signal transmitted above the ground to travel and bounce back and forth between the ground and the upper ionosphere all the way around and circle the globe until it ends up back at the spot that it started. The amount of time that takes, we can measure in a period, and that period also has a frequency of how many fractions of a second it takes, or how many times it passes around the Earth within that period. So for 7.8 hertz, the average of the old Schumann resonance, that means that basically a radio signal can pass around the Earth 7.8 times in 1 second by crossing its same exact path.
Fascinating.
Which means it only
things impact that though.
Could the sun?
Yeah, can the sun influence that?
Oh yeah, the sun influences hugely. You see those charts there? Most of those huge spikes that aren't flat lines, those are caused by interaction of the sun, by corona or other charged particles or changes in magnetic flux produced by the sun that actually affect the Earth's atmosphere and the properties of the ionosphere, creating radio waves that we can then pick up.
I was just talking to Mr. Douglas, whom we were talking about solar flares as the possible reason for the grounding of some on. There's so many things that were interfering, and it sounded like there was something way bigger going on, and everyone was like, was it aliens or something? Which is always a fun direction to go. But even if it's like aliens, it could still just be the sun, you know, because of, you know, L. Ron Hubbard. But otherwise, the idea that the solar flares caused information blackouts and disruption of communications. Do you think that that's happening? I mean, like, they're saying more and more that there's a potential, right, for solar flares to cause some sort of problem.
Hell, it just happened last week.
Right. Okay.
Happens all the time. There are certain isolated parts of the Earth where Birkeland currents and other variations, depending on where these CMEs strike the atmosphere, can completely knock out communications, knock out Wi-Fi routers, and even fry telecommunications in some places where they might be out for a day or two. And, you know, of course, companies will then rush in to try and replace their transceiver equipment because they're losing money for as much as those services are out. But yeah, it causes all kinds of problems on pretty much a weekly basis. Just generally, they're not super widespread. And most equipment was designed to be robust and handle that kind of abuse from the sun. But of course, the sun has been well behaved for a while, and there's going to come a point where a huge CME or a huge magnetic fluctuation from a flux loop on the sun does decide to collapse, and it's going to knock out quite a bit of electrical equipment and maybe even power in some places, or perhaps across large areas. And that's the big fear for energy distribution, is that it might knock out power in such a way that even the facilities that make replacement transformers are not going to be capable of operating and producing those transformers.
They seem to be working in a rush of all these underground projects. It just makes you wonder all around the world if that's why they're rushing to complete a lot of these underground projects.
Well, it's much safer in terms of protecting from coronal mass ejections to place the cables underground and allowing the magnetic materials, the ferrous materials inside the soil, to shield a lot of that radiation and its effects on telephone and power lines. You'll actually notice that in most modern cities you won't see above ground power lines, and it's mainly about just making sure that wind and storms don't blow them over. But part of that reason and that thinking is also that it makes the grid more robust by protecting it from the effects of the sun.
I just love the idea that all of these underground military bunkers, and some of them are built in the 80s or 50s or 20s or 1880s, you know, so they all have their idea of futurism, but they all are kind of trapped in their time. So imagine you work for the military in Utah or Idaho, and you're in one of these underground, or Kentucky, and you're in one of these underground dumps, and it looks like this.
Yeah.
I just think I think that's funny. Really, I don't know.
It's kind of ironic.
Like, it's a thing to live in. But it's probably cool because, like, once you get deeper into it, they have like cities with trees and basketball courts, right? So that's the one that's pretty cool. I think NORAD has 30,000 people or something that can live in NORAD. So
politicians, well, they're going to need places to go. Our world leaders are going to need places to go to protect themselves and their families when STHF. As for the rest of us, I mean, I guess we're just on our own.
I like
no, we're with you, Jeremiah, actually.
Yeah.
We're all with you.
Yeah, we're going to grab you on our way out of Wisconsin.
Yep. Cool. We'll meet you at whatever bunker you're at.
Thunder Bay.
And we'll fight whatever's coming with your technology. And we'll get there. We're ready.
Tesla was fully aware of these problems, and he knew the issue with the power distribution system, and he was constantly listening to signals from the sun and other planets, because, I mean, he was the master of wireless communications. But he also had discovered this fantastic thing about transmitting power. So he figured, if we can get rid of the wires, we can get rid of the problems of wires picking up huge magnetic fluxes being produced by CMEs, and totally solve the distribution problem and make the grid basically invulnerable to fluctuations like the ones that took out the telegraph lines in those early years of communication. But that was pretty well stopped by JP Morgan and by the military when they found out that he was intending to transmit more than just signal.
Of course.
Lots and lots of power, and that's a big no-no.
My God. Well, we're about
Jeez.
2 hours and more 20 deep.
Are we that-
Do you want to show us anything else before we start to close down?
Nope, that's all I really had set up for a quick on the spot demo. I didn't even catch the stream until about what was it, like probably 30 or 40 minutes into it.
Anti-gravity. That's all
That's
you had
so
for us.
good.
I mean,
That was so
like,
no,
Oh my
that
gosh,
was
thank
so
you so
awesome.
much, Jeremiah.
That was
That
really
was
one of
hot.
the best things
go
I've
to
seen.
go to
Yeah.
join the technicians.
That was hot.
Subscribe.
I
Force
just, like-
this guy to put videos back up. He refuses to do it. We need to just literally force him to.
No content with 13. What?
Yeah, and I've seen
we
a lot of
back?
his videos,
Well,
by the way.
Guys, I'm posting them on the new Exotic Propulsion channel. I'm not posting videos on this channel anymore.
Oh, okay.
No more join the technicians. You had a lot of subs, bro.
Yeah, he's like the artist formerly known
As
Join the Technicians.
technicians.
But go to Exotic Propulsion.
I'm going there. I'm leaving.
and get this channel up to 1,000 because it's at 323.
And you're nearby. We have to come do experiments. And I'm getting that flower.
That's true. She
that-
wants that flower.
That other one.
Was that the
the-
laser guy's flower?
Yeah,
Would you calm down?
they're in the same
Think
place.
that all laser guys are the same?
Yeah,
I'm just
they're
kidding.
in Wisconsin.
Variable
We're going.
HV
Oh my
AC power
gosh.
supply from Plasma Globe Driver. Let me just say, if you want a machine like a magic wand that shoots electricity like that, just there, or you want to get electricity from UHF signals, or you want to be on some sort of a watch list, make sure that you subscribe to both my channel and Exotic Propulsion. Click like and subscribe and get all the notifications.
If you want
And
them something interesting, you could at least click on that CNT induced ball lightning using a microwave oven, because that's a pretty interesting video there that you don't even need the sound on to really not that one. Well, that one's cool too, but that's not the one that's really interesting. That one in the middle there, CNT.
oh yeah, sorry. Right.
This one is visually fascinating.
Bro, with your
Dude,
Faraday microwave.
The other one you
it's
did
like,
is
it's safe.
so nuts. I'm gonna look at your little
I
magnet
believe
ball
in Faraday.
experiment.
I don't
forever.
believe in
What is happening
I
now.
don't believe in the Sharp company's
We
microwaves.
could measure
really being
what
safe as-
what are those little lights? What's happening? What are those little flashes? Those are different things. It's all different types of energy within the
You're
microwave.
just trying not to have children at this point.
Oh
All
my
right.
gosh. What happened?
What
So
did you
what's-
do?
Happening.
What is happening?
What's happening?
You're done.
Waves are hitting carbon nanotubes and breaking them into tiny little pieces. The carbon
I
nanotubes.
thought those were carbon nanotubes.
Oh
I was
my
like, are you
God.
kidding me? Okay.
Nerd out.
Yeah, that's what the CNT stands for, carbon nanotubes. And so the carbon nanotubes then start to emit electrons being bombarded by the microwaves coming from the magnetron. And as those electrons vibrate back and forth, they create so much heat that they become plasma and then turn the atmospheric gases into plasma, which continuously absorb more and more microwave energy, causing them to float around. They self-assemble into little spheroids and have seemingly no effect by gravity whatsoever. You stick a magnet inside there and they really go nuts. But I did not show that for a couple of very good
Jeez.
reasons.
I looked away for like 10 seconds. I had such a
Jeremiah.
Dennis Miller moment. You just became a Norm
Oh my
McDonald with a
God.
Faraday cage all of a sudden.
What is happening?
Oh my God. What was the end
You're
there?
my favorite
Let's
YouTube
just-
channel,
let's just
Jeremiah.
See
Oh
that
my
instant
God.
replay on 2, 3, 4.
I gotta do reaction videos again. Do the second
oof.
reaction. I want to do the
Oh,
second reaction.
That poor mug, bro.
Oh
You're
my
just,
God.
Oh,
People
God.
are gonna be doing reaction videos
I used to do that with
to your
CDs.
stuff.
So
That
that's
was,
not, but yeah.
dude, and bro, oh my
It's
gosh,
horrible.
and that little ball magnet experiment in the vials.
All right,
I
that
still-
was worth it. Make sure you
that-
subscribe to Exotic
all of it was
Propulsion.
worth it.
Watch all these videos. Learn about anti-gravity. Defy gravity.
I'll definitely mention I post probably or will be posting as many shorts as I do the main videos. The shorts are where I just have that I want.
Go to the
Are
shorts.
you on Twitter?
Click the shorts. Do the shorts. You saw.
I'm gonna.
I
but
want
I'm
to
just
see them
curious
now.
because
I
I go
do-
to Twitter.
Twitter. I don't
Oh my
use Twitter.
God.
I don't
He doesn't
use.
have time for Twitter.
Main-
He's doing short.
Oh, this thing. Yeah, this thing I probably shouldn't have done. I found this out by accident. I had no idea that a vacuum relay would be so freaking deadly. But holy cow, is it ever! And so when
Who
these
knew?
when those electrodes get too close to each other, and here I'm just showing you basically what I showed earlier on the show. That's uranium there, causing a small response from the radiation. That is the thorium bag that we looked at earlier, causing a huge amount of radiation. But that device there, that vacuum relay, is totally non-radioactive normally. And right now, high voltage is already applied to it. But it's also movable. Those two electrodes can become closer or farther apart. They're movable. So when I get them a little too close, they produce a massive burst of X-ray radiation that completely swamps my meter on the lowest sensitivity setting. And so I was standing there. I got blasted with that huge burst of radiation. But it was such a short
That's why you're so peppy, I guess.
Wear a lead suit or something. Jesus.
I do now. I mean, I didn't in the early days, but I protect myself in.
Jeez, thank
We
God.
need you.
Yeah. Everybody, please wear radiation suits and don't play with this stuff anyway. I don't know. Wear a helmet.
Yeah, definitely don't play with this stuff.
Please wear sunblock and a helmet.
Heard of
everybody.
Atlanta?
Study. I mean, radiation really isn't something that should be feared. It should be understood. But it's
No, radiation should be feared. Fear everything. Fear everyone. Fear all things.
Don't fear Jeremiah.
Fear will keep the colonies in line. Sorry, keep going.
But yes, if you don't do the research, be afraid. Be very afraid.
Right. Be aware. Beware should mean be aware. Be aware of the bear. Be aware of the bear.
How about a shirt that instead of beware just says no? My goodness.
No bear?
No.
That's rude.
No, KNOW, like no.
Wait, more levitation? More anti-gravity?
Whoa.
Well,
You can make way more money if you just turn this into an art installation.
Yeah, Andreas, make some
Momax.
music
I
for
don't know.
this and just play this on
I'm pretty
freaking
sure you
loops.
just be like,
I don't mind
I call
any
it.
of these videos, dude. You can go ahead and grab these and clip them up and do whatever you want with them.
Did you hear that? Permission.
Yeah, you should come with me and we should do an installation, and then just people should just think that this is art, and you talk about what it means.
You do this and
You
he
say what you
plays
say,
some
and people will be
music?
like,
No.
wow.
Just loop this with some music, Andreas. You
This
can
is
do
cool.
it.
All right,
You have all the
all right.
setups. Yeah, he
Challenge
gave it to
accepted.
you. Yeah, play some little music that goes with this.
Yeah, I've got
So are
those-
they moving around the coils here? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, those magnets are rotating at 45-degree angle, rolling their way around the magnetic alternating flux that's being produced by those coils. They're all staggered. They're supposed to be perfectly aligned, and I'm supposed to balance exactly where the center of those field nodes are so that they form its conjugate field, which has a magnetic superposition.
Oh my god!
Without getting too much into the gravitational phenomena that I was looking at. I just thought it was kind of cool the way that it caused magnets, like those little bar magnets right there, to roll.
Do they go
do
to
they
the
follow
center?
the track like a
is it-
vinyl
yeah, is it-
record? Do they or they
Yeah.
stay where they go?
Yeah, I threw that piece of magnetic film on there and allowed that magnet to roll around, and it made that ring pattern.
Wow,
No,
that's
you need.
awesome.
Is there like a full video?
This
Can
is
you get
kind
a
of
time
like
lapse
the
camera?
Time Machine movie where they have the rings that
I need a
float,
camera
right?
on this
That's
whole
very
entire
interesting.
experiment for how long this goes. I would watch
Pancake
this all
array.
day.
That's
If-
cool.
Yeah, it's just another levitation video in there. It's all I did was take one of those little ball magnets, the same kind that we seen earlier, and that's it, and stuck it on the end of a motor. And check this out. All you got to do is spin up the motor and have a stack of or a single magnet, and it'll just go ahead and levitate it for you. It's so stupid simple that
Electromagnetics.
you can super glue a magnet to like a pulley or a motor shaft can pretty much replicate this. Use a hobby motor or take one out of a kid's RC car and stick it on a couple of AA batteries, and you can do this at home. It's really easy.
I wanted to levitate with
Man,
the
we
weight of myself and my daughter up above my house.
You could paint the roads, and you could
50
have
feet.
cars that float above the roads, never need tires again. To pay a tax. I don't know. You pay enough taxes, might as well. What about this guy? Twisting magnetic current in a
this is
parametric transformer.
nuts.
Yeah,
This is-
in this case, we have two coils
Oh
that
my God.
each other. We have one coil that's wound around the toroid, trapping the flux inside the ring of the toroid, and another coil wrapped around the outside that is at 90 degrees. So two magnetic fields at 90 degrees don't really couple with each other. But by using a set of permanent magnets, what we can actually do is we can take the flux from that copper-colored coil and we can push it into the red-colored coil. That's the yellow trace there. By physically reorienting the atomic nuclei and their electron valence shells inside of that core, causing the flux from one coil to then be able to reach the other coil. But because it's a saturable phenomena, we can give a square wave a sawtooth wave pattern because we're changing the amount of that material to actually hold a magnetic flux in the north or the south position. But yeah, I mean, like, I haven't posted very many videos up here. I do most of my stuff on live. I generally don't post most of the goodies up on this channel. I try to throw them off live and short and sweet, like the demos of today.
TikTok you should put these out. If you have a TikTok, these would be
I don't use any of those things. I don't use.
Man, I should steal all your stuff and start a TikTok channel of your stuff and become famous. That's
No.
okay.
But we will do more shows.
Just
and
kidding.
Jeremiah will
But
be back.
your videos are incredible. I'm just in awe.
Benikoff and anti-gravity and magnetic fluxes, and you're gonna probably get my attention. So
Wow, I can't wait to look at some of your stuff on exotic propulsion. That's
Super base.
Yeah,
Any video
super based.
posted
Awesome.
experiments that I've never shared. There's about 15 to 20 times more content that I've already recorded that I just simply haven't put up because I don't have an adequate explanation for all the science yet. And I don't like to post things where I can't completely explain them. I made that mistake once, won't be doing it again.
It was hard to delineate between your video, like you're so fluid in your speaking that it looked like it was the video that you put up and your explanation. It was flawless. So it was really cool to have a live presentation of those videos again. So when people go to your channel and watch them, they got to feel like they watched you do them when you did them live, like I did. So
Daniel
thank you for
Foster
that.
asks, does it
It's
work
amazing.
when a monopole Hallbach array spinning upon the motor? When it has a monopole Hallbach array spinning upon the motor? Do you know what a Hallbach array is? I don't know what a Hallbach array is. Hallbach.
Oh yeah, sorry, I guess I muted myself. Yes, you can use a Hallbach array to also cause that same magnetic levitation.
Oh, okay. I do know what a fun fact. Okay, so a Hallbach array is where you have a number. Yeah, it's this pattern of magnets essentially.
Yeah, the job of a Hallbach array is to take all the magnetic field from a series of magnets and force it more strongly out of one side than the other. And if you think about that, it's actually super important. Hallbach arrays are super important in terms of anti-gravity and gravitational research because they inherently contain a gradient of the field distribution. As you can see in that picture, we have a lot more magnetic flux coming out the top side than we do on the bottom side. And that gives us a gradient, which means that the refractive index of space-time itself and its permeability is being affected more strongly on one side than the other. The only thing we need to add to a Hallbach array in order to get a gravitational response out of it is angular momentum.
All right.
Interesting.
Solid state, ionic lifting, anti-gravity. These are all good things.
Is like propulsing. Is it working against the surface and propelling it? I don't see the arrows.
Moving. The key with magnetic systems is that there always has to be a moving magnetic flux. So this does not work if the magnets are completely stationary or if the electromagnetic fields are continuously powered by direct current. They have to be continuously changing over time in order to produce these phenomena. Because what happens is anytime a magnetic flux or an electric field is sitting there just stationary, the rest of space-time will compensate for it by gauging itself out, becoming generally net neutral. But if you continuously move it, new space is constantly repolarized because space-time is polarizable, or as some would say, the vacuum itself is polarizable. And so we have to introduce motion relative to something else that we want to either move towards or move away from. So on Earth, we have to introduce motion to a magnetic field if we want to, say, move away from the Earth and its gravitational field, or move towards something like a spacecraft or another planet.
Okay, so we need a moving version of the Hallbach effect. We will continue this soon, Jeremiah. Let's do real science either tomorrow or the next day, whenever it is with Rife. We'll send you the link.
And we're going to we're going there.
Yeah,
go to the lab.
I might want to check that out.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll definitely make sure you're there. Hallbach array, recent Tartarians. Make sure you're subscribed to the recent Tartarians channel. Get her over to 1,000. Help Brittany defeat the Zuck, as I like to call it. And she does some really great videos here. Also, she does some videos with Julia.
Oh my gosh,
Parasites are everywhere. Is an
that's
interesting
the
video all about parasites.
intro.
A lot of people
It
don't
tells
know.
a story.
Yeah, pretty cool. Deep fakes as well.
I will say,
Deep fakes.
finally, I apologize to all commenters who are probably asking questions in the comments, because when I'm on the live here, and I'm on my cell phone, so I can actually move it around and show you stuff on the test bench. That means that I don't have any space left over on the screen to see the comments. So if there were questions, I do apologize. I wasn't able to read them, unfortunately. So if I can get a solution to that, I will try to. But for now, generally, if you guys don't read me the comments and questions, then I have no idea what people are asking. So
Gotcha.
just keep in mind in the future.
Guys,
No need to apologize, by the way.
Send us super chats. We'll read them all to Jeremiah.
Yes.
No, but sometimes I read them anyway because I'm like that. JuliaCommon.com, which is Julia's new website, which is really fly.
I love
like
this.
it.
I haven't seen this.
Develop your soul.
Like
all about Julia?
Tutankhamun.
Yeah. a seer,
She
specialized
is.
remote viewing. Some of you will be contacting Julia in order to get better readings, and this is the best way I think to do it. Correct, Julia?
Mm-hmm.
Epic. I like this website. It's really the color scheme, the pictures.
I haven't seen this.
I love
This
this
is
one
great.
too. This is like, I love this stuff.
Oh,
So you can
Fab.
also do
Fabulous.
contact here, about, donate, which is also a great idea, and bookings. So you can always book her as a speaker, and she does some pretty interesting. You did a thing in Las Vegas recently, right? That was
Yeah,
on-
and I have one coming up in March, and then and then there's one in Mount Shasta in June. Yeah, if you want to come out, if you're in LA or you're going to be in LA, March 24th, 25th, and 26th, come see me at the Biomed Expo.
Biomed.
And then it's under the events. If
We might be there.
Oh, events.
For
right
sure,
here, yeah.
Shasta.
You can check
Yeah.
events, and then you can find it. There you go. The Biomed Expo right there. There'll be a lot of interesting speakers there as well. So pretty sweet.
Andreas, I wanted to compliment you on that epic outro music. I was curious I don't know if it was your last show or not, but it was the one with the tiger pig. Great outro song. Was that yours?
The 1975 animation that's like 6 minutes long. I used at the beginning of this thing.
No, I didn't catch the beginning of this. I got in here
Same-
quite late. No,
Same
but
with the outro.
first
You'll
show.
have to let me. You'll have to let me know.
The
There's a
outro
couple.
for what
there's
show?
a couple new animations
Had
they
that
put out.
tiger pig background. Remember
Tiger
that?
pig.
Yeah, I don't remember if I used this one or the other one. There's one of them is another person's song. Who did the one? Hold on,
Tiger pig?
let me look it up.
I'm not remembering Tiger
Oh,
pig.
yeah, this ultra adorable CGI image, probably something that he asked an AI to generate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, the pig man.
Let me see if I
one.
can find the tiger pig. You can see exactly what you're talking about. I have that picture somewhere too.
Maybe we could outro with it. Ooh.
Where's tiger pig?
I think we should outro that
I was like, well, that is
in honor of Jeremiah's request.
you think-
Tiger pig. I'll
Yeah.
pull this out for a second so you can see how you do this. No, it doesn't. Tiger pig.
There we go.
You know
It's
what I
an
mean? That
image.
was a tiger pig. Okay.
That
was
should be a
tiger pig.
song and a music
But I don't
video.
know where the song is the thing. So there's a song called 1975
at the
that
very
somebody did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
You have it up.
audio.
You have it up right now.
Yeah, so it might
It's
be
a regular
we'll
video.
See. If it's just the one, then let me know. Otherwise, there's another one I did. There's another one I did called World Peace, and that's the song that I did as well. So you'll see there's two different AI animations. You'll let me know which one's the right one.
Yeah,
All right.
If people want to hear that song, all they've got to do is go over to your channel, and it's worth watching the entire stream. It was a pretty cool one.
It's on the sync tank panel. Okay.
Definitely check that out, and then
Good call.
you'll also be greeted with a fantastic, always interesting, trippy as heck intro and outro from no other than Andreas.
More to come for sure. Yeah, I've got some things I'm working on. So
Shout out
I'll
to
see that.
Andreas.
Thank you.
That
Yeah.
was nice.
Yeah. Go to targetnova.com. Join the Discord. Buy my t-shirts. I love you. Take care. Thank you for being here, Julia and Jeremiah.
Bye everybody.
Andreas.
Jeremiah, you're the greatest.